Welcome to Yerba Mate Talks.
Just say, yes, I'll agree to your rechart application of Sokotoa.
Immediately.
Hello.
Be quick. What's up?
Not much. High up level asked me to come here.
Well, that was a mistake. Thank you for coming.
Welcome to the after show. I am Max. The cat is sleeping. And there we had the evidence that I got banned in one sentence. In one freaking sentence, I said, hello, I got banned on the Etherapology server. Because some doofus was saying that didn't happen. And yeah, you know, we bring the receipts. Let's get you the link. And before we do anything, make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send this to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and you'll subscribe to Share About It Talks. And that way we can share the love for the channel. Let's pin that link and we'll be on our way. That was an awesome debate.
Sup.
Hello. I was blown away by Astronomy Live's presentation. That was one of the most thorough debunkings I have ever seen in my freaking life.
It was pretty good. I don't know what to say except he did his own research. Is the first thing I'm thinking of.
You know.
Oh, we have someone is feeding.
Yeah, I just echo.
Is it from me?
I don't know.
No, it's from me. Hold on.
Oh, God damn it, Dan.
That AGC.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Dan.
But yeah, basically went like I thought it would. Still a good time. What'd you think, Mike?
Yeah, it was all I recall are just soundboards and talking about stealing porn videos. but it was a really good debate on Astronomy Live's part, of course.
I think you're using the wrong mic, Mike.
Oh,
ooh, good call, Rhonda.
I think that the monkey inside Alan's head when Astronomy Lab started his opening went.
Well, yeah, maybe Mike might have something.
That's right.
Okay.
With the way that he was darting his eyes back and forth, I feel like his eyes got a really good workout with how many times he got called out on his bullshit. What's up, Reds?
Red, hello.
What's up, Reds?
How you doing?
You know, stuff and things,
Great
and
job
sometimes
moderating.
even stuff.
Mhm.
Bro,
I'm hoping Beasticle shows up. He's not here
That
yet.
was a lot of fun. We have Astronomy Live there. And hello. Let me here in the center.
Is my
Man
audio
of
still
you.
okay?
Yes,
Yep.
it's absolutely perfect.
Okay.
we can hear you just fine.
And
What's
your
up with
video
Astronomy
looks
Live?
spectacular.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Right now we are full, but Beasticles said that he wanted to join, so I can make room for one more.
I can drop out
No,
after a while.
that's fine. You can stay. Dirt. I'm going to have to pass on you joining for today, but hang out in the chat, and I will make room for Beasticles since he's the only flat earther apparently that's willing to show up. So,
If you
Cool.
want to, Max, you can feel free to throw me backstage if that makes room. No big deal.
No, I can make one more.
No, I'm sick of hearing Steel City's voice. Like he's been talking this entire time.
Yeah, get rid of him, will you?
And Vesicles, the link is there in the chat. So hold on, let me put the background here. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh boy.
All right, we'll start with our format. Where the hell are my backgrounds? Damn StreamYard. All right, who wants to start? Let's start with you, Mike. Thoughts on Alan's opening?
On Alan's opening, so listen. It was a bunch of stuff that was way over my head. That it was just it just sounded like Whitsitt talking about his bullshit, right? So it was a bunch of math that ultimately just didn't make sense with anything, right? And then I found out it didn't make sense when Astronomy Live was like, here's how all that shit is bullshit.
That's right.
So like that.
Michael's inventing.
Like it was just like that whole topic of like the whole theodolite, all that kind of, that's way beyond anything that I have any comprehension of. So like, whatever. That's his audience, right? Is people who have no idea what the hell he's talking about. It sounds smart, but it's really just bullshit, right? So that was my take on Alan's opening.
All right, thanks so much. Let's do Dan.
Oh, apologize. I thought it was muted. My bad.
No, that's fine. No problem.
Dan's not ready.
Dan.
What's up, Vesicles?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but let's find out real quick. Opening was interesting. When you're going through slides with a bunch of graphs and colors and things like that, generally you want to show them for more than a second so people can understand what's going on. You kind of breeze through it pretty quickly, and obviously it's really hard to assimilate that much information quickly. Main character syndrome seems to be pretty prevalent because it says he's been presenting it for 39 weeks, but yet I guess if you want to go find it, you have to go to his Discord to go find it. So I don't know. It seemed like a really fast-paced and very quick opening for something that didn't have to be so. But that's just my own personal opinion.
All right, thanks so much, Earthly Skeptic.
Hey, and Astronomy Live, congratulations, you were splendid.
Oh, thank you.
So Alan's opening, it was haphazard. It was all over the place. Dude does not even know how to build a presentation with all those spreadsheets colored in crayons, and he could have just explained in one slide in 4 bullet points what the experiment was. And I think Astronomy Live did that even better than he did. I think anybody who came in without any knowledge of the experiment went away with even more confusion. So that was my take on his opening.
All right. And the man of the hour, Astronomy Live, welcome. It's awesome to have you. What were your thoughts on Alan's opening as he was doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Earthly Skeptic kind of took the words out of my mouth a bit there, that it felt it felt a bit haphazard. It felt like he was doing everything he could to avoid simply explaining what it is in basic terms, which is what I tried to do in the first, minute of my presentation, so that the average person could grasp what the principle is. And he even admitted I did a good job of that. So I think that was telling. I think he left himself too little time at the back end to actually present his data, because and granted, I will give him that he had the challenge of explaining his method first, but we gave him extra time for that. And he should have been, I feel like he should have been able to do that in 2 minutes. I feel like I was able to explain the basics of his method in 2 minutes, but instead he spent all of his time talking about concepts that were related to it before finally showing some data at the end. And so I didn't feel it was a very strong opener, to be honest.
All right, thank you so much. Red, as the moderator of the debate, how did you feel? How much did you have to bite on your chew toy while it was happening during Alan's opening?
I mean, I kind of bit through it multiple times, in fact. But you see, the one thing I do want to say, and I'll give both of them some credit here. They both made it possible to not have a cataclysmic shit show So that was really nice. They actually behaved themselves, and so when I as the moderator say shut the fuck up, they're usually really good about it, and I appreciate that. So even though and here's the thing, I am biased against Alan. I fully acknowledge that. He knows that. Astronomy Live knows that. I'm not keeping any secrets from anybody. Astronomy Live is my friend, so I have a bias here. Absolutely. But one thing I will say is that it is actually a pleasure to have Alan on my channel and to have him debate Astronomy Live. Do I believe that Astronomy Live gave him the most thorough ass kicking I've ever seen in the entire history of forever? Abso-fucking-lutely I do. But in terms of just how they handled themselves, I think they were both great. I don't agree with what Alan said, but I do agree with the way he said it. Both Astronomy Live and Alan were able to keep themselves together. And I think there was only one instance where the nipples were kind of on fire, where we needed to put some ice cubes on them babies. But other than that one time, I think was perfect.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Still City, thoughts on Alan's opening? Still?
Steel City, come on, man.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. I'm sorry. I started talking and then you're like, Steel? I'm like, oh, shit. I thought it was a bit long-winded, but fast, like how Mike said earlier, which is weird. And I don't know how he presented all that stuff and then still somehow ran out of time when he had 15 minutes.
Leo asked, I don't know what a tensor is, but I understand general relativity better than you, Alan. Yes, Alan, aka the Blob. Deplorable Ilk, thoughts on Alan's opening?
I'd like to start with an apology to Alan, because I accused him of blocking me on Facebook when it wasn't him, it was the other Blob, Shane.
Shame.
But, it's too easy to mistake one for the other, isn't it?
It's okay. People mistake me for Astronomy Live all the time. As you can see, Astronomy Live is way more intelligent, way more better looking. I'm just more charming.
I've been mistaken for Red's rhetoric. In fact, before this debate, who was it? I saw somebody on X, Twitter, whatever, say that Reds was going to wipe the floor with Alan. I'm like, wait, what? Reds isn't debating him. I am.
Yeah. So if you want to differentiate us, it's very easy. Astronomy Live is more of like the tax collector type of guy. I'm more of the guy at the bar that listens to all of your problems and calls you pretty.
All right.
So I thought Alan's opening was much of what we all expected. I think his bluster and his speed is deliberate. He's plowing through a load of math theory that he doesn't understand, half of which isn't related to the Celestial Theodolite. And he just throws it all in there to throw mud and to throw shade, because he knows the idiot flirts don't understand it and they'll just give up and believe whatever he says. And he doesn't understand it himself either. As he showed, he couldn't even add 2 minutes to 15 minutes and work out 17. So there's no way he's doing the Celestial Theodolite math.
All right. Thank you so much. And the Bisticles, thoughts on Alan's opening?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
What's up, you guys? Thanks for having me. By the way, Reds, great moderation. I think it was not, it was not bad at all. Even though you have a bias,
Thank you.
it's fine. What I thought about Alan's opening, I mean, he basically just explained the Cell Theo method, but I just have a couple of questions, if that's cool. But unless you're doing like a format thing,
yeah,
I don't know. Okay,
yeah, we can go into open discussion if you can save them for in a little.
Yeah.
We can move on to those later. I see spin, and I'm going to swap out Mike for just a second so we get dirt on here. And I'll keep on swapping you guys back and forth. If that's okay.
We're just talking about Alan, right?
Yes.
His open. His open was a little bit esoteric. I thought he's done this for 38 weeks, right? Like he said. I think one thing that Alan I think one thing that he could do better constructively is, and he has this problem. I don't know if Beasticles might agree at some point. We can go back to it, but he's done it for so long, right? That it's almost this thing that he sort of understands where he's going with the conversation. And what I think he fails to do is realize that there's people that don't quite grasp the levity of like sort of what he's talking about, and so I think taking like a more introductory sort of explanation for what the celestial theodolite actually does and why it is a quote unquote globe killer, right? I think maybe taking that approach and then expanding from there into whatever branch like he might be exploring that week. I think sort of laying the groundwork for why it's a good method to show that there are issues that the globe is not considering and that sort of thing. So that's something that I've kind of wanted to say to Alan for a while. I haven't really found the opportunity, and I would be surprised to learn that I was the only one that has trouble sort of following kind of exactly where he's headed with certain topics, because he kind of jumps in and it may be through no fault of his own. He may just have a script that he's running for that week and is expecting the people that are following him to be sort of up to date on what he's talking about. So it could just be me, but I do think that it's important for him to sort of lay more of an introductory groundwork, I guess, and that's where I think he loses a lot of the audience, especially when it's an audience that is primarily going to be there for the opposition, right, for the globe side. And so I think it's important to try and present a better introductory case for his model, and I think he failed to do that.
All right. My thoughts as a complete layman, like Mike said, this is a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. But when you start with Stellarium, that's conceding that the Earth is a globe. And the other thing is that apparently 10 years of lights in the sky don't prove the shape of the Earth, go by the wayside. And if lights in the sky prove the shape of the Earth, 24-hour sun, bitches. That's it. You're done. You're over. You lost twice in your own argument without any rebuttal. Your own argument refutes your position. That's how I see it as a layman in all of this topic, right? So that's my thought. Now, let's do Astronomy Live's opening. And since I have you here, I always like to ask if you feel that you accomplished what you set out to do with your opening.
Yeah, I feel I did. I was pretty happy with how the presentation all came together. And I feel I was able to condense a lot of work over quite a bit of time into a short, even less than 15-minute presentation in a way that most people could probably hopefully digest and understand, because ultimately, I set out and did my own observations, which included both airliners and weather balloons, and airliners and weather balloons. Like the weather balloons contribute to the calculation of refraction, and then the weather balloons become targets themselves. And so it's a lot to get through, and I'm pretty happy with how it all came together. And I think the visuals worked. I mean, I feel like I really made a strong case for the globe.
Oh yeah, when I started listening to your presentation, I was like, oh my god, that is so boss. Tracking a plane, measuring the plane, measuring the balloon. That is just like next level. So,
oh, and the other thing, I completely blew right past it because it's been a while since I actually did it. One of the first things I did was the aquarium thing. Like I started working on that first before I even did the airplane thing, but it took a while to do, and I had help from Jesse. I didn't have a chance to shout this. I should have shouted this out. I'm so sorry. Jesse, Path of Light, thank you. He came through for me building the hardware. So the lights, the laser that could actually be underwater and shine that light underwater, waterproof, he did all that. I bought the diode, but he put all that together, the housing and everything, and he made it work, and it was solid. It was watertight. I didn't have any issues with that laser. And same for the LED lights that I stuck under the water there. worked flawlessly. So thank you, Jesse Patholite, for doing that. But I loved being able to do that with my little SpongeBob right here. He was the hero of the day. It just worked perfectly, as it turned out. Hit the size of his base from the camera to be able to get a star that's actually refracted and visible above SpongeBob while geometrically occluded. And yeah, that's exactly what happens on the globe. Like, it's a model of what's happening. That the geometric intersection doesn't matter for the occlusion. That's not what determines occlusion timing. It's the apparent position of the star, the apparent position of the mountain, SpongeBob, airplane, whatever it is.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to do inverse turn now. So, Earthly Skeptic, thoughts on Astronomy Live's opening?
Oh, that was a fantastic opening, chef's kiss. And I'd seen a couple of your pictures because Astronomy Live and I chatted a couple of times before this. So I'd seen the fish tank and all of that, but watching it was like watching a movie after having read the book. So there was that excitement. And it was brilliant. I mean, having done the experiment 2 different ways and having shown that this is consistent with an Earth radius of 6,371 was all brilliant, splendid. And it was a very well-organized presentation, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate
in comparison
that.
with your interlocutor.
Thank you.
Dano.
It was shit.
Thanks, Dan.
You're banned.
No, Astronomy and I have worked on a few projects together. So he came with exactly what I expected him to come with. The novel way that he did it was interesting in the fact that, he's obviously raising it up off of the horizon as much as possible, and basically trying to eliminate things like refraction and stuff like that. So it was very well thought out. It was a very novel idea. I don't think it was so novel that, it was a surprise party to where he couldn't talk to at least the methodology, but it was very well put together, well organized. Might want to start using more colors for us colorblind people, though. So when you use green, yellow, and orange, it all looks the same fucking color in the middle of your your what you call it, the hot dog map or whatever, or pork chop.
The pork chop plot. The pork chop plot. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I should have added contours. I meant to do that. I'm sorry about that.
I sat and looked at that going, fuck.
Are you red? You're red green color?
Yeah,
colorblind?
I'm very colorblind, so let's just leave it at that. Red green is just one of them, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I see about 20% of the red spectrum that a normal person does. So leave it at that. So orange and red and green, forget it. It was just
I lucked out on that genetic front. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Mike.
Hey, Dan, by the way, I got to call you back. Sorry, I missed your call earlier.
Fuck you, Mike. Way to go. Way to, what a true friend. And I guess you're working today.
I was on a phone call when he called me, and then I was like, I got to call Dan back, and then just.
What kind of phone call? Was it a booty call?
Ooh. It was absolutely a booty call. I mean, that's the only call that we have. That's like, come on now. But Astronomy Live, I loved your presentation because it got layman's like me really engaged, because what you were doing was you were providing real world experience and observations instead of just confusing math equations, right? So like you showed the graphs, you very well explained what the graphs meant, globe versus the I like how Beasticle said it, the cell Theo, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like you took his math and you applied it to what you see in reality, and you made that incredibly clear. And it was just very engaging. It was very interesting. During the watch party, we're all having fun, and seeing the laser bend incredibly. Like I need to screenshot that so I can use it for my own stuff. It was just really fascinating. It was really good. And yeah, it was great for the layman's. Absolutely. 100%.
Appreciate a good analogy would be he grew the wheat, grounded it into flour, and then made like the whole pie from scratch. And I think that is just
Yeah.
like freaking.
He showed how the
Well,
sausage was made.
Yeah,
Basically, is what it comes
exactly.
out to.
Well. In contrast, Alan was just literally just showing equations that you know how like with how quick he was going over them. Like you had no chance to like verify them. And with layman's like us, we have no idea even where to start to verify those kind of equations. But with yours, it was here's what I saw. Here's the math that I got from it. Here's how I got this math, and here's how it works on the globe. And here's how it debunks the flat earth. Boom, wham, bam. That's all it needed. So it was good.
All right. Thank you so much. We have Jesse backstage, and he'll be ready in a moment. Jesse, when you're ready, let me know, and I'll swap you in with someone. Icy Speed.
Yeah, I invited Jesse, by the way. So I don't mind dropping out too if he wants to come on.
No, we can rotate. We can pull people up and down. No problem.
So yeah, I think Dan, Earthly Skeptic, and Drunk Debunk, excuse me, made really strong points.
You can call me Mike.
Mike. Okay, I'll try to remember that. So yeah, Astronomy Live did the contrary, I would say, to what Alan did in terms of telling a story, starting out, kind of laying the groundwork for why the observations that Alan has made, and kind of helped people understand how it works on a globe, how it works on a flat earth, and then shows the data and is able to kind of walk through it. And what I really liked was that he went the extra mile. I didn't quite understand at first how the SpongeBob thing played into it, because I thought I was looking at a sand dollar, to be honest with you. I was like, where's SpongeBob here? But the point is like you got to I think the critical mass, like the apex of the presentation, and it was when you took the water out of the tank and you showed the difference, right? And that's kind of like okay, I see what's going on here,
Right.
And that kind of helps the audience really kind of understand how water does play a factor into this, and how the transfer of mediums and refraction really is in an environment that you're shooting a laser through is important. But anyways, I thought you did a good job at storytelling. I won't stick around long for the point that I'm trying to make. I just thought that's where I felt like there was something left to be desired on Alan's side to sort of lay it out and help tell the story and lay out the points in a really succinct manner, not stick around too long with the math and that sort of thing, and just show graphs, explain why this is important, what have you. So I thought you did a good job at that. So good job.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Beasticles?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to go over. Are we still doing opening discussions and discuss? Like, I don't have too much time.
Thoughts on his opening.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I thought you were gonna at least, address the actual method, but it's cool that you did balloons and planes, and I mean that's cool. Can I ask you though, how did you establish the actual height of the plane?
So the height of the plane was established by receiving the ADS-B data. I didn't have time to really go into ADS-B, but essentially every plane is transmitting its current location, its current altitude. That's largely for deconfliction, so the planes don't run into each other. It's for safety. And famously, the recent crash in DC, right, where the helicopter ran into the plane, was partly because they were so low that they couldn't get in what they call an RA, where if two planes or a plane and a helicopter are about to run into each other, the system is designed to tell one to go up and tell the other to go down. Well, one problem is the military helicopter wasn't on receive, it was on transmit. All aircraft have to be transmitting, but not all are modernized to also receive. But they were also too low for that, because they don't want to end up in a situation where a plane coming in for landing is going to be told to dive into the ground and die. So there's all that. And Unforuncated, I'm sure he knows even more about this than I do, but they're all transmitting ADS-B. Okay. So I have an antenna and I'm receiving the ADS-B transmissions from the airplanes at the same time that I'm filming them. So I have an RTL SDR, which is a software defined radio. And so basically I can tune this radio digitally to whatever frequency I want within a wide range. And I can tune it to the ADS-B frequency. So I receive the data directly from the airplane, and it tells me the altitude, the latitude, and longitude. Now, the complication with that is that the plane's altitude is reporting in barometric altitude. Once planes get above, I think it's about 10,000 feet, whatever it is, the transition altitude, where you start to get to those cruising altitudes, they all set their altimeters to the same value, regardless of what the actual atmosphere is doing, because they don't actually care. Once they get up high enough that they can fly over Everest, they don't care what their absolute altitude is over Earth so much as their relative altitude relative to each other. They want to make sure that if they're supposed to do this at 1,000 feet separation, they're actually going to do this at 1,000 feet separation, not this, because one had their altimeter set wrong, or one had an altimeter set for Denver and the other was coming from Chicago, right? They want to make sure they're doing this. So they all set their altimeters to the same setting, which is not their true altitude. It's their what they call barometric altitude that assumes a standard model for the atmosphere. So we know what that model is. So
Depending on how high you are, right?
Right. Depending on how high you are, what the pressure is supposed to be, not what it actually is. But I have what it actually is from the weather balloon. So I can reverse engineer what the true altitude of the airplane is by looking at the weather balloon data, comparing that to the plane's reported barometric altitude, converting the barometric altitude back to a pressure value, and then interpolating where that is in the weather balloon data. Does that make sense?
So this weather balloon, yeah, I hear you. I'm curious. This weather balloon data, it wasn't during the actual observation. You're basically getting it from like some aggregate, like over time, essentially, like throughout the years.
No, it is from the time of observation. So they launch the weather balloons twice a day at multiple sites around the country. We have a site up in Tampa. That's the one I tracked leaving Tampa, heading east. And then there's a site down in Miami that launches one. So these planes I was tracking from where I'm at, a lot of the air traffic I see at night is heading into or leaving Miami. Okay. So for my observations, I'm mostly using a Miami weather balloon for the airplanes because that's just the closest weather balloon to them, or it's at least the most logical, sensible weather balloon, because the balloons launching from Miami, they're going into Miami, right? So that occurs at 0 and it's supposed to be valid for 0 and 12 universal time. Right now, that so that translates midnight universal time translates to us to about 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I set up my telescope at a local park and basically try to start observing around that time, maybe within an hour of that time. Even though the balloon actually launches at about 6:20 to 6:30. At least out of Tampa for sure, because that's, I saw it, we saw the signal appear when they launched it. So they launch about 6:20, 6:30. The idea is they're trying to get up to about cruising altitude around the time of 0 universal time. So again, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then it keeps going. And it takes it probably another hour, hour and a half before it reaches so high that the balloon bursts.
Pops.
And that's the end of the data. And that's around 30-ish kilometers. So in other words, around 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., as I'm observing these planes, I'm deliberately doing it at a time early in the evening when the weather balloon is up there and it's collecting the data so that I have the best possible data to account for the atmosphere as effectively as possible.
Okay. No, that's...
And those weather balloons are transmitting the whole time.
Constantly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So then you use that data, and then what refraction formula are you using? Is it G.G. Bennett's?
No, it's ray tracing.
Okay.
So this is direct ray tracing based on the Sider equation and based on the based on the pressure, the temperature, the humidity, even at the various altitude levels. So I'm factoring all that in to directly compute how much the light ray should bend as it's going through the atmosphere.
Now, is there a way to incorporate that same refraction data that that same data that you're getting from the weather balloon over a mountain peak?
Well, that's what I did, right? So that's the data I was presenting.
I mean, a mountain peak, not planes. Like,
yeah, no, I'm that's what I'm talking about. So what I did is I went back and looked up historic weather balloon data for every observation I could find, or at least so looking at Allen and Heffron's data, right? Their data set pretty much predates all my observations, right? The data
because you're using you're using the data in real time. You're saying that you're getting like live updates from weather balloons.
Right. So so I'm looking at their data, but there's a website, a Wyoming website that archives the weather balloon data as well. So you can click on every site around the country and you can look up for whatever date you want, whether it's the morning or the evening balloon. There's also slots for additional times. I don't know the details of what every single site launches. I just know the ones locally here, Miami, Tampa, they tend to launch at 0 and 12. Other sites around the country may have slightly different launch times, but those are the ones I always think of as 0 and 12. Just 'cause those are the local
Did
ones.
you
But I
get-
looked up the historic data for each
Right.
of the celestial theodolite observations. And if there wasn't one, so for example,
Did you
Lynn-
get different results in terms of refraction, like the amount of refraction that was needed for each of the observations?
So what I showed, like my graphs showing the globe error, are all based on that. And yeah, it differs potentially from Allen's, not only because of that, but also because I'm not using Stellarium. I'm using the Hipparcos catalog. I'm directly computing for precession, proper motion, aberration, nutation. I'm directly computing for all those things before I even start the process of predicting the elevation angle. Then, once I get the geometric elevation, I'm also computing for things like the globe dip, obviously, for the shape of the Earth. And I'm computing for refraction using the weather balloon data. So if there was an example, so an example would be Blinn Mountain, I believe was the name of it, where the observer location was at like sea level. It was very, very low. There's no weather balloons around that area within hundreds of miles that launch from sea level. So I didn't have any valid weather balloon. I simply discarded that observation because my method won't work with that. You have to have weather balloon data to use, and it's
We can
got to
use
be
the staple one, Pikes Peak, if you want. I'd really like to
Well, I
go
did.
over what you got in terms
Yeah.
of results to see the compare and contrast them.
So for Pikes Peak, I used Grand Junction, Colorado, and there's a weather balloon launch out of there that's no higher. In fact, I think it's lower than what Heffron's at and wherever he's at, 50 kilometers from Pikes Peak. So I use that data, right, and use that for Heffron's observations. And what you see is through Heffron's observations for Pikes Peak, the globe is better. It works better than the celestial theodolite because I'm directly computing for refraction and accounting for everything myself. I'm not relying on Stellarium, and I'm not relying on some polynomial. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I'm just like, is there a difference between, for example, Pikes Peak, right? The first observation in terms of what was the predicted globe angle with and without refraction, right?
That's
The
all
true
there.
geometric-
Yeah.
That's all.
So that's all
where?
there. And so the results, the CSV files for everything is on the GitHub page. It's in the video description. It should be. Red's got the link. He's going to put it in the video description.
Oh, it's on
if he
Red's
hasn't already.
channel? Okay.
Yeah, it's at the debate stream on Red's channel. If you go to the video description, he'll have it in there. It's got the GitHub. It's got all the weather balloon data. It's got the observational data, celestial theodolite data.csv, and then there's celestial theodolite results.csv, which
Let
is
me just be
after you-
clear. It's not there yet, but it will be.
It will be. Okay. So it will be.
You might post that in the chat real quick while we're discussing it. It's a GitHub page, right?
It's a GitHub page. Yeah, let me get it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just never seen the data actually with my,
Because
So-
what I want to do is I want to make sure I have everyone's links so I can post all of it at the exact same time.
That's
I
Just
mean,
throwing
all
that-
of this
just throwing
was
that out there.
said. All of this was very clearly stated during the debate. So I kind of baffled why you're asking questions that were like very clear. I even understood that all of this.
No, I
And
just wanted to see a compare and contrast of like what he got for Pikes Peak versus what it shows on Allen's spreadsheet, and seeing if there's a difference in the amount of refraction that was needed in order to, explain the occultation at that time. That's all.
So, like I said, all the results are there. Keep in mind, it's not only the refraction value that may vary somewhat, it's also the star's position, because what I did, so the RA and the deck of the star that came out of Allen's spreadsheet, I used that as a lookup value to look up the closest star within the Hipparcos catalog. And if I didn't find one within 1/10 of a degree, I discarded the observation as there's no match here. There were, I think, 2 stars that weren't in Hipparcos that were in Allen's data sheet, but the rest of them are all in a Hipparcos. So once I find the actual ID of the star in Hipparcos, I then compute for everything. Aberration,
The
proper
ideal
motion,
star, you
notation.
said? Like you mean the actual the true geometric position of the star? Is that
No,
the ideal
no.
star?
It's more basic than that. It's the Hipparcos catalog coordinates. So let me back up for a second. Stellarium is doing a lot of work in the background for you. It's calculating for precession and it's supposed to be doing aberration,
etc.
all that stuff. Yeah. I'm not trusting it. I have no reason to. I just do it myself anyway, right? So the program that you'll see on that GitHub page is designed to calculate for proper motion, precession, aberration, nutation, all of that, the stuff that Stellarium would do. But I'm doing it from the original Hipparcos catalog data. So I know what my source is. I know exactly what catalog I'm referring to. I don't know what Stellarium's using for any particular star. I could dig, but why would I? I just use the catalog. The catalog information is the J2000 coordinates, the coordinates referred to precession as it was in the year 2000. Okay, so you have to first calculate for the precession of Earth's axis between 2000 and 2026. It's quite significant. Then you have to calculate for proper motion, all that stuff, right? So I'm doing all those computations myself. So the resulting calculations at the equinox of date may differ somewhat from Allen's. So there's that. Then you're calculating the elevation of the star over the globe of the Earth, the spheroid of the Earth, and then calculating for refraction on top of that using my method. All of that is going to differ somewhat from Allen's.
All right. Let me hand it over to the plural
go ahead.
for thoughts on Astronomy Live's opening, and we need to keep it rotating because we have a bunch of people today here. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks. I thought Astronomy Live's intro was concise. It explained Celestio in the way Alan should have. But again, I think it highlighted the fact that Astronomy Live was there to explain the observations and the data, while Alan was there to throw shade, muddy the waters, and basically cast as much doubt on any data and every data as he could and say, ta-da, we win.
All right.
And again, I think it showed that Alan doesn't understand the maths, whereas Astronomy Live does. Alan doesn't understand the methodology, whereas Astronomy Live does. Alan doesn't want people to understand it, whereas Astronomy Live does. And I think the two openings completely highlighted the differences between the two debaters' positions.
All right. Thank you so much. Steel City.
I really liked it. It was a very pleasant, easy to follow opening. And I can only speak for me, but it seemed like everyone else in the watch party that we had going was also very impressed that he used a moving plane. That was awesome.
Yeah. I had some fun
Balls.
tracking those bad boys. Yeah.
Reds.
Yep. And then after this, I'm going to call it a night. Yes, I know how much work Astronomy Live puts into his presentations, and the reason why I know this is because he won't stop calling me to bitch about it every single fucking day. It's like, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, and I'm going to put it this way and that way. And I go, yes, I understand. Your dick is massive. I get it. It generates its own gravitational field, but that's all to say that he does put a lot of work into his presentations and puts a lot of work to collect the data, to do the math, to do the analysis, to explain it clearly for us people that haven't gone through the trouble of doing all this work. Astronomy Live has really perfected the art of taking really complicated subjects and making them easy to understand. And that's a skill that he developed over a lot of years. And he started developing the skill after he was introduced to me.
Well, and I have to give credit to Reds here because he was a huge help here. He was there. He was the one who took my picture there with the big telescope where I'm tracking a balloon. He was there that morning helping me out and bought me breakfast afterwards. So thank you, Reds. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the support and help, watching my equipment as I had to go pee, etc., like all that kind of stuff, you know.
I totally get that. No one was going to fuck with your shit while I was there. But yes, Astronomy Live, I think you did a fantastic job, and I cannot wait to honestly host another debate in the future. It's going to be great, because now that the information is out there, now that we're going to give Alan pretty much all the time he could ever need to actually analyze this shit, we should be able to do this again and come back with what can only be described as an even greater debate, I would hope. So with that, yes, and I'm going to say congratulations to you, Astronomy Life. A job well done. You definitely deserve all the praise. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Oh yeah, one more thing. Unfornicated, I do agree. Mike sucks at calling people back. He is a fucking asshole when it comes to calling people back. I totally agree with you on that, and I will be telling him that in person. So with that, guys, thank you so much. And Max, you sexy son of a bitch, thank you so much for inviting me on.
Thank you, Reds. Take care. Have a great night.
See you later, Reds.
There you
Peace.
have.
Hi, Mike, you fucking asshole.
I've been here the whole time. I'm just eating. He put me in backstage so he wouldn't see me eating.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
It's okay. I just want you to know that I meant every word that I said. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, love you.
Bye, Red.
Bye, Red.
Right, let's bring back Icy Spin. And we have Jesse over there. So Astronomy Live has some words to say to Jesse. So I think it's fair that you go ahead again.
Yeah, Jesse, thank you again for all of your hard work, tireless hard work, and underpaid hard work. I should have sent you more money.
No.
I reimbursed him for the parts, but man, he really put in some effort there, building me a waterproof laser, waterproof LEDs, sending me the power supply, everything I needed to run that water tank experiment, and technical support and all of that too, in prepping all this. So thank you again for all of your help.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for doing that experiment. It's been on my bucket list because somebody needed to do it, and I'm very glad to see it get done.
Thank you.
So many times I've heard, well, we don't live in a fish tank, or if you put the camera inside the fish tank, the laser beam wouldn't bend. So
right.
That was fantastic to see that.
Now that we have you here, thoughts on Astronomy Live's opening, if you would, please, Jesse.
Oh, it was absolutely splendid.
Thank you.
All right, and we have Piezo here. Give us some thoughts on Astronomy Live's opening.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, I thought he kept it pretty concise. He did a generally good job of steel manning Alan's position. I think that initially, like in the first wave of the debate, before it started getting too far into the back and forth, one of the things I disagreed with the most in terms of not like thinking it was logical was using that fish tank experiment and trying to draw it as if it was one-to-one analogous to the mountain, because he made a claim when Alan was addressing Pike's Peak, like the first observation, about the 219 versus the 217, that there was a 2 arc minute or whatever difference, which is about 8 seconds or so in real life time. That he said, yeah, of course I use the refracted position because refraction exists, and so that's where the mountain's blocked. But Alan's position is that the refracted image of the mountain doesn't block the star, and Astronomy Live's position was that the refracted image of the mountain is what blocks the star. But I don't think it's logical to say that like what's effectively a mirage is blocking the ray from the star. Rays are only blocked by solid objects.
So how do you explain then the water tank experiment? Because I literally show, in fact, I'll share my screen here again. I literally show the fact that you have here a star that is physically blocked. Nothing's changed here. The camera's in the same spot. It's physically blocked by SpongeBob here. So, are you not sharing my screen?
Yeah, give me 1 second because
Okay.
I left that and I need to put that in.
Cool.
There we go.
Yep, there we go. So it's this star is literally right where you see it here. This is physically what's going on there. And I demonstrated that also with the elastic band, because that is tied to the same hole as the light. I pull it taut, it goes across SpongeBob, it deflects off his base, and now starts to come down at a slightly lower angle. And if you look from the camera's perspective, you can literally see that elastic band coming up and over the base and coming to the camera, even though you can still see the light. I'm starting to disturb, the concentration gradient a little bit there. I'm trying to move as carefully and as slowly as I can through the water to pull that thing taut. And you can still see that star above the base, just like you could in the side-by-side. And yet, even though it's visible, it's geometrically blocked. It is geometrically obscured by SpongeBob.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that I'll use this as an example, right? I'll use your fish tank. That SpongeBob laying on its side, the base of it being like the edge, right? You're treating that as if that's the mountain edge, right?
Right.
Is it SpongeBob's base that's blocking the star ray, or is it a mirage of SpongeBob's base, like 5 centimeters above SpongeBob's base, blocking the star ray? Of course, it's the base. A mirage of SpongeBob could not block the star ray. Only physically the base of SpongeBob would block the star ray.
But SpongeBob physically is blocking the star ray, so why can't I see the star?
Yeah, so what the point is the ray that is being traced from the star to your eye is bending, right?
Yep, just like the laser.
Yeah. So it's bending. So you're seeing a ray that's curving, and that ray is reaching your eye. If the ray didn't reach your eye, you wouldn't see the ray. So
right,
clearly, it's not blocked. The moment that it is blocked, the moment that it disappears, which is analogous to the conclusion, is the moment that ray lowers down and strikes SpongeBob's base. So my point is that it would never get occluded unless it hit SpongeBob. It's not going to get occluded by a mirage of SpongeBob. It's only going to get occluded by SpongeBob. In similar manner, the mountain, a mirage of the mountain will never block the starlight. Only the physical rocky body of the mountain will block the starlight. That's common sense.
Okay, so going back to my intro, the very first slide I showed after the title slide, okay? Let's go back to that for a second, because this is the thing I think you're getting hung up on, is that the refracted ray is bent, yes. On the globe, we're saying that refracted ray hits the mountain, and then the mountain is also being refracted as well, and then we get to the observer. What the observer sees, to them, they perceive this to be an apparent angle that looks like the green line. It's reaching the observer at a steeper angle than the geometric line. The geometric line are these orange lines. Geometrically, the star is below the peak. Geometrically, the peak has a higher orange line than the star. But what we're perceiving it as is the angle that refracted ray comes in. And it comes in with all of the refraction that the star would have had it been unobscured. The moment it disappears, it still has the same amount of refraction as the moment before it was obscured. It disappears at the refracted apparent position. Likewise, the mountain is perceived as being higher than it actually is. It has a little bit of terrestrial refraction as well. And so you can see how the red line comes in at a steeper angle than the orange line to the top of the mountain. So yes, we perceive the mountain as being a little bit higher than it actually is as well. But it's when those two angles align, the apparent angle of the mountain and the apparent angle of the star, that's when the occlusion happens.
So when the apparent angle of the mountain aligns with the apparent angle of the star in this explanation, is that a different angle than the geometric angle of the mountain aligning with the apparent angle of the star? Because it looks to me like both the red line and the gold line reach the same point and they intersect.
The red line approaches the observer from a steeper angle than the orange line. They both intersect at the observer, but the green line is forming a tangent with that red line where it intersects the observer.
Okay, but the red line and the gold line both converge at the peak of the mountain, yes? That's the physical mountain blocking that light ray.
Yes, but they have a different slope.
Okay, but we were talking about whether the star gets blocked by the physical mountain or not.
The star,
you said it doesn't. It gets blocked by the apparent mountain.
you say, okay, you're conflating physical mountain with geometric position of the mountain. Those are two different things, and I think that's what you're getting hung up on in your head. Is you think that it's going to get blocked based on a geometric angle, because geometric to you sounds like, oh, that's the physical position, so it should get blocked when it hits the physical position. But what's happening here is that we see the mountain not at a geometric angle, we see it at a refracted apparent angle. And that apparent angle is the angle this red line is coming into the observer at. That angle that it's coming into the observer at is the same angle that's going out to this green line here, which is above the gold line or the orange line to the top of the mountain. So we see the star vanish at the point that the apparent angle of the star matches the apparent angle of the mountain.
So if that green line is where we see the mountain, and that green line is where we see the star, how would you ever know in your, portrayal of this, how would you ever know what the actual angles to these objects are if every apparent angle is a converged angle that you can't tell what the original incoming angle was until it reached you and became something different?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that. I wish Alan had asked that question, honestly. So how do we know what the geometric angle is, right? Because we perceive the apparent angle. Well, that's the reason I did the weather balloon thing. That's why I used weather balloon data to work out what the refraction should have been based on the atmosphere. That would be like if I took the water tank, okay? Imagine I had sampled the salt concentration at every layer, like every millimeter of the water tank going up the water tank, right? I could reconstruct what the ray was going to do with ray tracing by figuring out how it's going to interact with the water, what the density of the water is at each elevation, at each line going up the water tank, right? And I could reconstruct what that ray was going to do. From that, I could work out what the geometric angle had been if I knew how far away, say, the mountain is, right? I'd be able to work out what the geometric angle is to that mountain by basically reverse engineering and subtracting out the amount of refraction that I would expect given the concentration gradient of the atmosphere. With that said, this is exactly why I picked targets that were higher in altitude than the mountains that were generally observed, further away than the mountains were generally observed, to get a bigger delta between flat Earth and globe Earth, but also to minimize the effect of refraction. So if you look at my data, skip forward here. So here, we have the data off the airplanes, we have the data off the balloons, and all the way through with my data set, the globe is matching better. Now, the very earliest data point here, this shortest observation with a range of about 18 kilometers, okay, not very high range. This was a balloon as well, and this was a balloon that was about, I want to say 14 kilometers in altitude, still higher than a commercial airliner. And like I said, the slant or the surface distance was only about 18 kilometers, if I remember right. But the flat Earth delta and distance there, the target height error, was about, well, let me look it up exactly off my Excel sheet here. It was 31.57 meters, whereas for the globe, it was only 3.3 meters. So about a factor of 10 difference, which is not attributable to refraction, because the amount of refraction we expect based on the weather balloon data there, we're talking about 0.01 degrees, okay, of target refraction. The celestial theodolite, or really flat Earth prediction, the flat Earth rise over run angle, is wrong by 0.096 degrees, almost 0.1, almost a tenth of a degree, almost 10 times higher than the amount of refraction.
Well, that's on this chart. See, this is kind of like a different thing, right? So I think there's two reasons why I don't like the way that you compare these things on this particular data chart that you have. One of them is that the reason in the first place that this Celestial method was ever invented was that it was long known that if you just use a regular theodolite or a telescope with an angle reading function to point at objects and look at their apparent angle at which they are coming in, right, then you can see that the apparent angle of looking at objects doesn't match rise over run, right? Like that's known, and it matches pretty closely in most instances to what you would expect like a geometric globe plus refraction to be, right? Or pretty close to it. So the point of this Celestial method was to say, hey, we know that there are optical effects going on that cause, you know, a deviation from what a straight line geometry would expect. Some of those have to do with the way that light traces arcs in space. Some of it has to do with the way that our actual field of vision, as you relate 90 degrees above our head to 0 degrees at the horizon, the angle to distance ratio changes across that angle range. It is not entirely linear throughout the whole range of angles. As it gets closer to the horizon, for example, it compresses and becomes nonlinear. And so there's different sources of this deviation from linearity. So this was intended to be a method to use a physical object between us and the star, assuming that the star is, you know, not measurable, its true position, like physically in space, 3D space is not measurable, right? Because we just see it, it's an apparent light. So let's use an object to block the light to try to see where it really is. That was, you know, the purpose. So that's the first point. And I think the second point is that comparing this data to Alan's, right? Alan's data is using just the raw angle with arctan rise over run, whereas you are taking arctan rise over run minus drop over distance plus refraction plus celestial refraction. And
For the globe, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a couple reasons why I don't think that's appropriate. Number one is that if you're going to add in corrections, right? Like he's using the raw angle on purpose, and he's comparing in his data set, he's comparing what the raw angle minus drop over distance would be for you. And in all those raw angles, you know, Effie's closer on all those. But then once you add those two corrections in, of course, you get closer. That's to be expected. One of those is regular refraction, which you could add back in his. So I guess you could do, you know, arctan rise over run minus drop over distance plus regular refraction. And he could do arctan rise over run plus regular refraction. He would still be closer. It's that last correction that you do, the celestial refraction, quote unquote, that really seals the deal. The magnitude of that is like 6 to 20 times greater than regular refraction throughout these data sets. Most of the time it's greater than the half gamma angle.
But here's the thing, like this is why I'm picking targets, including the airplanes, where the delta from refraction, the amount of refraction, even celestial refraction, even the what I would call astronomical refraction to the star, is less than the difference from what we're seeing comparing globe to flat Earth. Like the 90-kilometer plane here, the star refraction there was 0.147 degrees. The celestial theodolite error was 0.296 degrees. Okay, that was like...
This is a plane chart?
This is the planes, yeah.
Why are you comparing celestial refraction to a plane?
Well, again, the plane is blocking a star, right? This is doing it Alan's way of taking the star that's behind that airplane, okay, and figuring out where it should have been, right? This is doing it Alan's way, literally. So we know where the plane was based on the sky, based on the star that it was occluding, right? It's no different than a mountain peak. It's just a plane instead of a mountain peak.
Yeah, and he lives in Florida. There's no mountains there.
Right.
Okay. I feel like it would. Well, maybe we'll look into that plane data later. Just my initial thoughts are I didn't realize that. I was thinking you were saying that you were taking angles to the known plane position. I didn't think you were saying you were using the plane in place of a mountain.
So the angle to the known plane. Okay, imagine this. The mountain, right? You know where the mountain is, right? You know the GPS coordinates of the mountain peak. You know the altitude of the mountain peak, right?
Right.
So I have to know the GPS coordinates of the plane. I have to know the altitude of the plane. Well, I get that from the ADS-B. That's why I went into the whole explanation of ADS-B. The weather balloon has to convert the barometric, because I got to get to the same starting point, right? Where I know where the plane is, where I know where the plane is, and I know how high it is. But fundamentally, from that point on, this is literally celestial theodolite. This is a plane blocking that star right there, knowing where that star is for the globe, again, with the globe based on refraction, based on the globe drop, etc., and comparing that to Alan's Celestial Theodolite, where I moved the observer position to the target, the plane's GPS coordinates, and grabbed the angle, the geometric angle of the star, right, without refraction. Okay.
What kind of angles are we dealing with to these airplanes? 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 15 degrees,
That's
30?
a fair question. So the angle to the airplane, let's see here, target apparent angle. So this is with refraction. The target apparent angle for the planes range from 16 degrees down to about 5.6 degrees.
Okay. Okay, I figured probably like 15 or so. So yeah, I mean, this is somewhat apples to oranges in terms of what we're doing, because once again, until you get below 10 degrees and really below 5 degrees, as definitely closer to 2 to 1 degrees, it increases what I'm about to say. The deviation from linearity in the optical regime of angle to distance ratio changes dramatically, and that is why, for example, in some of the data sets like Blend Mountain and Green Mountain, these observations that are really far away and really close to the horizon experience the most extreme deviations from baselines. That's where you were getting like the 600 meters, 1200 meters, like all this different, various crazy offsets in the predicted height of the mountain based on these things, and you had like 3 or 4 times the gamma angle for the celestial refraction correction. My point is, real quick, I just want to get it out. Celestial refraction, we actually did a dig on this in order to. I got educated. I like when Celestial Theodolite came out, I didn't know half this stuff. I had to become very educated. The history the history of Snell's law, right, is very well established. It's a very well established physical phenomenon. It's the basis for refraction. We can plug in temperature and pressure and all these things and calculate very precisely. However, the celestial refraction is a different story. It actually was created because there were deviations between the ideal predictions with regular refraction included and the actual measurements that they were taking to stars. So what they did is they said, we can't quite form a general solution for all of these blanketly with a physical phenomenon. There's no general form solution. So what we'll do is we'll plot a ton of data, and then what we'll do is we'll compare the measurement curve to the prediction curve. We'll take the difference between that, pop it out as a second order polynomial fraction, and then that will be our correction formula. So every time we take a prediction, we run our prediction through this correction formula, and that will predict our actual measured apparent angle. So it's actually just an empirical curve fit at the end of the day. It's not a general solution predicting anything physically.
But do you understand my entire analysis isn't based on a polynomial. It's based on empirical data of what the atmospheric pressure was at each altitude. And it literally uses a derivative of Snell's law to determine what the refraction is. It literally is physically based. It is that's what ray tracing is. It's a physically based simulation.
No, I know what ray tracing is.
Yes. But in this case, I'm not ray tracing it like NVIDIA, where it's just, simulations for a video game. No, this is ray tracing data based on the actual pressure, temperature, and humidity at each altitude to determine how much refraction there should have been based on the atmosphere. You're saying that it's not apples to apples because I'm looking at things that are higher than what you guys have been looking at. Well, that was deliberate because at higher elevations, you have less variation due to refraction, and we see a bigger difference between what Celestial Theodolite predicts versus what the globe predicts. That's why the orange line here is diverging from the blue line. It's because of that relationship.
But sorry, go ahead.
And this is the thing, I'm not using a polynomial. I understand. It sounds to me like you're well, okay, I'm not going to make assumptions about where you are in your journey with this, but it sounds to me like you've been listening to Alan for a long time now about this stuff. The thing he wasn't expecting, and the thing that I was bringing to the table here, is that this isn't based on a polynomial. This is based on actual ray tracing of what the ray should have done through the atmosphere.
No,
and that works with his data too.
I trust that your ray tracing model is accurately predicting Earth refraction, terrestrial refraction, like
celestial refraction too. That's what it's doing. It's doing the astronomical refraction as well as the refraction to the plane.
We'll see. That's the point though. So real quick, getting back to the celestial refraction, that's what I wanted to focus on. The number that you got, right? The number that you got for celestial refraction was within like a fraction of an arc minute of what Alan had in his spreadsheet. And just using these formulas from like the 18 and 19, early 1900s for celestial refraction. And they did not, right? All they were doing was empirical curve fitting. The way that celestial refraction is apparently, quote unquote, calculated, they claim that it's analytically calculated now using physical variables. That's actually just through using a relation of physical variables to those empirical plots that were already taken a long time ago. It's still not a general form solution. Like when I take regular refraction, terrestrial refraction, right? It's literally just a function of temperature and pressure. When you use celestial refraction, you have to use a function of apparent angle, right? You feed it in an angle and it takes a second order polynomial and multiplies it out. Now, there are some combined formulas that combine together terrestrial and celestial refraction into one formula, and they say that they're accounting for celestial refraction through those variables, but they're not actually related. So that was my point, is until you, like, if I was to do the same thing, I'll just invert it, right? I'll invert it and flip it on the head and say, I'll take your position, right? If I was trying to prove FE, and I made this rise over run curve that Alan has, right? And then I added regular refraction to it, and I was still way off. I could then say, hey, look, I'm going to plot my predictions for arctan rise over the run plus terrestrial refraction. Then I'm going to plot all my measurements. These two curves don't match each other. So now I'm going to take the difference between these two curves, plot that out as a second order polynomial, and that's my flat celestial refraction correction. Now I'm just going to, every time I take an arctan rise over run, I got to add terrestrial refraction and I got to add flat celestial refraction. And now I get accurate predictions. Look at that. It's magic. It's like within 1 arc minute every single time. You know, that you would never accept that as a real scientific process.
But what you're describing is not what I did at all.
That's where celestial refraction came from. When you're using this formula for celestial refraction, it was derived from that process.
Again, I don't know how many times I have to say this. Look, the fact that I recapitulated celestial refraction based on empirical data from a weather balloon should be telling you something different than what I think it's telling you. I don't think you're understanding the signal here, and you're in the noise. You're not understanding that I literally recapitulated celestial refraction by your own admission based on empirical data from a weather balloon. I didn't start assuming that I needed to hit a certain value and just fudge the numbers and make that happen. No, this came from the weather balloon data ascending through the atmosphere, measuring how that pressure drops off with altitude, and then plugging that in to a derivative of Snell's law to then determine how much the ray should bend.
Yeah, that derivative of Snell's law is what I'm talking about. So if you share that formula with us, I would guarantee, like, because I've already seen it. I don't know the particular. There's different formulas. There's a whole different set of them for different angle ranges depending on the author, right? That's why.
That's not what I'm doing at all. You're not understanding.
Share it with us. Share us the formula.
It's the source code is in the link in the video description. Okay.
Okay.
It's also in the side chat.
It's also
in the private chat. Let's do a little parenthesis here because we have a couple of messages I'd like to get to. So here we have PhD Tony says, at some point, I would be grateful if you could ask Astronomy Live if Alan has presented a model that explains circular star paths.
Well, and so this is where the flip-flop tends to happen, where when you start asking him about that and you start moving in that direction, I feel like he moves towards the Bislin model instead of the Celestial Theodolite model. So it's these don't agree with each other and they're not really the same, but I'm going to push and hand wave to this thing over here. And then, of course, that's just an ad hoc model to fit bendy light to make it match the globe. Okay. Yeah, when you look under the hood, it's like the Scooby-Doo meme. You know, you take off the mask. Oh, it's the globe running the ship.
And light bends a lot in the Bislin model, right?
Right. It does whole 180s at times, depending on where you are.
It's extreme refraction and overdrive.
Right, and it's driven not by throwing weather balloons up in the air and determining what should happen. It's based on, well, I need to get to this answer over here that's the globe, so I'm going to force it to do that.
One thing came up during the debate, and I have one of those apps that on your phone. It's called Night Sky, and it tells you where stars, satellites, and yada, yada. Would you like to know where Polaris is for me? It's that away. Like, literally that way.
That's not
like-
good.
Well, have you ever thought maybe that's wrong, Max?
I don't know, because whenever I point it out, like if I go outside and I tell it like, hey, where's the Southern Cross? And I point and it's like, oh, it is there. And when I tell it like, hey, where's the moon? It's there. Oh, it's there. And the times that you see like Jupiter and that you see Venus with your naked eye, you go like, hey, that star is weird. I don't think I've seen that before. And you point it, it's like, oh, it's Mars, it's Venus, it's Jupiter. But now
You want to see a
I
live
wonder
demo
why
of where?
Polaris is like way like underground. For
You
example,
want to see where Polaris is for me? I would predict that it's at 30.5 degrees. Might go outside and do this.
Are you including refraction?
No, I'm not.
Doesn't matter. Polaris is high enough.
Jack Fetter for 489 says Astronomy Live's entire argument fell apart with SpongeBob. He's flat. Had you used Patrick, maybe big fail. Thank you, Jack.
Solid argument.
Excellent. Perfect rebuttal. Question for the Flares. How can the globe accurately predict the total lunar eclipse happening on March 3rd down to the minute? PSO? Guess not. Okay. Dan for $5. Thank you, Dan, over there. Definition of irony. The radius of our supposed vision just so happens to match the radius of the globe. A Wake Zone's model makes more sense than that.
Pac-Man, waka 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 waka.
Yes.
Sorry,
That is coincidence.
Were you sorry, did you call for me?
Yes. Eric Burns asked, how can the globe accurately predict the total lunar eclipse happening on March 3rd down to the minute?
Oh, that's actually really interesting. So they can predict them usually down to within a minute or two based on the last eclipse that happened. But if you were to try to predict like an eclipse 100 years from now, it would be less accurate. They all use the sorrow cycles, and then they calibrate based on that.
You're about to get cooked on that. Astronomy Live, I think you predicted an eclipse on the year 3001, right? And did you use the solar cycle for that?
No.
Nobody can get within, sub-minute precision on things that far out. That's the point. We have ways of predicting it down to.
Is not an argument.
No, Piezo. I was there for the I was there for the 2024 solar eclipse. It predicts that down to the last meter. All right.
Yep.
And I had an app that gave me a countdown of totality. It was correct to the second. Totality began and ended exactly at my location when the app predicted. These things get it really right. Saros cycles are centuries old. Please update your science, for heaven's sake. And people use Besselian elements and, updated math. And something I do want to point out to flat earthers listening is globers usually derive their math. Astronomy Live, like any scientist worth their salt, is likely deriving any formula that he uses. I don't think he uses a formula that he has not derived himself. Flat earthers, on the other hand, will use a formula, just pluck it out of the tree they find and start using it. That is why you were asking which formula was it that you're using. This is also the reason why Alan uses Haversine. He does not know a flat earth formula. 2 weeks ago, I asked Alan, what is the formula for distance between 2 points on a flat plane? I had a Ryan moment, right, where Alan could not state the formula. A good self-respecting flat earther could not state the formula between 2 points for distance between 2 points on a flat plane. That is why he uses a spherical formula, because there is no flat earth formula that he has access to. So we don't go by formulas, we derive them. We go by first principles. I just want to mention that in response to what you said.
I forgot about that. And I think it's the second case. We had the first case of an actual debater doing the dumbest comment of the debate. And today, the award goes
the
to
dumbest
Alan.
comment of the debate. You said it with a smile like you sounded so great. Round and round you talk, but you don't say straight. That's the dumbest comment of the debate.
I love
Yes.
that.
That's fantastic.
saying that
You can tell that's not
to
AI.
measure
That's
the
awesome.
distance of flat Earth,
Did Jared make
to
that
use
for
the
you?
Habersign formula. That is the dumbest comment of the debate, even dumber than all of the dumb shit that was
What
said in
the
the
heck,
side
bro?
chat.
They just had 4 men dancing to a girl song, bro. That was
Bro,
great.
but dude, it was Dolby Surround. What the fuck are you talking about? That was
Yeah,
sick.
like, dude.
What'd you say?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do you think that dancing is gay?
Super gay.
I can't hear you, bro.
So gay.
Do you
So
think
gay.
that
He can't
dancing
even
is
hear you.
gay
It's
or
that
what?
gay.
Like, what do you have against dancing? I'll dance you off anytime, bro.
Yeah, you don't want to you don't want to dance off Max.
Holy
trust.
cow, dude,
So-
get a grip.
I have the sun.
Astronomy Live, I think
on
you're
here.
away for a second.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
You're
I
asking
asked a
about
question.
your how
You
you were able to
predicted
calculate.
an eclipse for I think the year 3001, right?
Yeah.
Did you use the Soros cycle?
No. No, and that certainly wouldn't have told me the path it took. No, I used my spreadsheet that I developed. Well, Lord, I did the moon side of that spreadsheet 13 years ago and posted it on my channel, and then did the sun side some years later, where I worked in when I did the initial version of the spreadsheet, it was primarily for calculating the position and orientation of the moon to refute the claim that Cheshire sideways moon is unusual, which is coming back around again. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. It's coming around again on Twitter. I debunked that 13 years ago using this spreadsheet, right? Well, for that, I needed to know where the sun was. I used a very simple formula for that. It wasn't terribly accurate past, a few years. And so I came back, I was like, okay, I did really good on the moon, but I really want more accuracy on the sun. So I then came back to it a couple years later and updated it again with more accuracy using equations based on Simon Newcomb from the 19th century to get it much more accurate. We're talking, basically an arc-second accuracy and for the position of the sun. And so then when the 2017 eclipse happened, the first great American eclipse that went from, the Northwest down to the Southeast through the continental United States, I went up to Casper, Wyoming to film that. And I had it set for myself that before I got there and before I filmed that, by golly, I was going to work out how to predict the path of the eclipse myself without anyone telling me, like, how do you do this? I just knew I had the spreadsheet. It accurately tells me where the moon is. It accurately tells me where the sun is. I know the shape of the Earth isn't flat. So let me figure out, like, how do I predict this? And I worked it out. I worked out the math on how to predict the path of totality. Is one of the things I'm actually most proud of, and honestly, that I've done in amateur astronomy. So in 2017, I worked that out. And then 2024 eclipse rolls around 7 years later. I go up to Maine and film it again, run the prediction again. This spreadsheet runs, like I said, on the orbit of the moon and the sun, the Earth going around the sun to determine the position of the sun. And from that, I figure where the moon's shadow is going to land on Earth's surface. Okay. So for that, you have to look at where that's projecting onto the globe's curved surface. So basically, to predict the eclipse in 3001, well, first of all, I knew the 5 millennium canon of eclipses ends in the year 3000, right? So I know that at some point thereafter, there's going to be another total eclipse. So I did it's very dumb, but this is what I did. I sat there with a spreadsheet and I went day by day looking for new moons until I found one that actually was a total eclipse. And I found it in October 3001. And then I worked out from the time, just going minute by minute, oh, here's what the path is. Easy. And it's not based on Soros cycle or anything else. It's based on the actual orbit of the Earth and moon.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, finally. Sorry. Yeah, so what I wanted to say earlier about the Soros cycles and the eclipse predictions, right, was that those models that are like modeling the eclipses, they're actually being updated in real time as it gets closer and closer to the date of the eclipse. And they're taking, because there are perturbations that are not able to be accounted for beforehand.
Gravitational perturbations.
Yeah, whatever the sources are. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So-
but
Can I make a point here?
All right.
Can I jump in here? The gravitational perturbations are pretty well accounted for. What they updated most recently was more to do with the exact size of the sun, the size of the photosphere, which is empirically derived, of course. But that said, I went and observed the 2024 eclipse from where my spreadsheet said I should stand, based on orbital elements I've had in there for about 13 years now. It didn't need updating. It worked. I stood where it told me to stand. I saw totality. I dare you to find me a flat Earth model that can do that. That can tell me where to stand to see totality.
Yeah, so that was I was trying to get there, man. The point I'm trying to make, right, is that there is not a purely dynamical model that does not take into account previous eclipse data that can predict future eclipses way out into the future
Wrong.
with
So
sub.
what's a dynamical model?
I'm
I've
not
never heard of
finished.
that.
With sub 0.1% accuracy, which would be like a minute or two that you're talking about.
Dude,
we can
you
get,
can't even.
I literally did it.
You just said it was from 14 years before. That's for 14
May
years
I-
out.
Yeah, and
So it's based on the orbit of the Earth and Moon.
So what's
It's based-
10% of 14 years?
I said a tenth of
It's
a percent.
he only has to get the prediction right within 1.4 years in
said a
order
tenth of a
to
percent.
match your status. But returning back to what you're saying about Saurus cycles, it's complete because Saurus cycles start and they stop. When you see a partial eclipse, this is a Saurus cycle starting or ending, because they don't go on forever, and they don't and they haven't been going on forever. Yes, once you've got an initial eclipse, once you've got an initial partial that starts the cycle, then you can calculate the rest of them using Saurus cycles. But Saurus cycles start and end. So predicting every eclipse cannot be done just by looking at Saurus cycles. That is a pig ignorant. You clearly don't understand what Saurus cycles are if you're even going to propose that as a mechanism for predicting eclipses.
Yeah, the whole point, I think that the whole point that you might not have understood what my point was, is there's not a mutual exclusivity to globular orbital dynamics in order to
predict the sunset.
Why do you interrupt me before I can finish
my
my point?
channel, my house, bitch?
I mean, I'm being
This
very
gets back to the question
very
that I
kind
was
and
asking
respectful.
Astronomy Live that he was gracious enough to respond to, and sorry I should have come on in person to ask it. But if you can't predict that, Flat Earth cannot provide an accurate model for star paths, right? It does not provide such a model. And the Bislin model, Astronomy Live, please confirm if I'm correct on this, but it would give stellar elevations that are extremely different for observers at high altitude. So if you hopped into a plane, and we know that pilots in the early 20th century were able to use celestial navigation, without making the ridiculous adjustments that would be necessary under the Bislin model. So we can tell that the Bislin model is not accurate to reality. So we're back to the case that Flat Earth cannot even tell us first order features about the behaviors of celestial objects. And now you're claiming that the ability to predict eclipses is not exclusive. Yes, the ability to predict the start of a Saurus cycle is exclusive to a globe Earth looking at the dynamics of the Earth Sun or the Earth Sun Moon system. That is exclusive to a globe Earth. You cannot do that using a flat Earth formulation. So your claim is just false again, sir.
What do you mean? The Mayans had Saurus cycles, bro. Shane won 10 grand by using no globular dynamics to predict an eclipse successfully. He got paid up by Mordwand out of your community.
Okay, but you don't seem to understand what I'm saying when I say the start of a Saurus cycle can be predicted by us and it can't be by you.
What do you mean it can't be predicted? You can literally use the periodicity of them as they repeat in cycles across time.
At the start of a Saurus cycle, there is no previous event from which to calculate the cycle. That's what the start of the cycle means. There is no previous eclipse from which to project a future event. Some, not all eclipses, but some eclipses occur at the starts and ends of Saros cycles, right?
You're talking about
Do you understand that that is the case?
Yeah, you're talking about the slight imprecision or irregularity in the eclipses within the bands of one particular cycle.
Nope. Saros cycles start, right? So a Saros cycle says there will be an eclipse every, however many years. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but these cycles start, they go on for a long time, and then they end, right? You cannot predict when these things will start using a flat Earth formulation because you've got no previous event from which to say this will occur, however many years later.
That's exactly how Fred Espenak built his, data charts out hundreds of years backwards and forwards.
Then he's wrong to do so because Saros cycles begin and they end. Are you aware of this?
You know that Fred Espenak is the one that plots all of NASA's eclipse data for like the past 25 years, right? Or however many years it was.
Well, sorry, please, I may be wrong about this. Astronomy Live, am I correct about Saros cycles beginning and ending?
Yeah, as far as I know. Now, the Saros cycles are relevant to me because, first of all, they don't tell you the path of totality. They tell you timing, and you can work out generally what part of the Earth is going to see the eclipse. But that doesn't tell me where I need to stand to be in the path of totality. That's a narrow window to hit. You got to be right. And to do that, you need to know the actual orbit of the Earth and Moon. The Besselian. So this is why Shane went on and on about Besselian elements. This is why Alan referenced it tonight, is because they were trying to claim that that is a flat Earth method for predicting eclipses because it involves a flat plane. They did a quote mine. They found the word plane. They were like, oh, boom, that's it. That's the flat Earth method that predicts eclipses. No, what that is the fundamental plane bisects the globe. I have a book. I guess I should look for it. It's somewhere here in my collection. I have a book that, first of all, I've got a book that Espenak wrote himself. I've got his book. He's passed away now. Rest in peace. He was an expert on eclipse prediction, and he listed the eclipses by Saros cycle, but he's predicting them not based on Saros cycle, but based on VSOP and based on ELP 2000. He's basing them on the orbit of the Earth and Moon. That's how he's generating the path of totality. Okay, I'm using Simon Newcomb's equations for the orbit of the Earth that go back from before 1900. Okay, we're talking 19th century data here, but it was so accurate that they used it until the 1980s. Okay, so you can use that to still predict eclipses out 3,000, to 3001, like I did. And I challenged Shane to do the same. For this, he blocked me on Twitter and hid my reply when I challenged him to predict the next eclipse after the end of the sequence. If it's really just a sequence based on Saros cycles and you can just predict it forever, why couldn't he predict the path of totality for October 3001?
I guess because he couldn't find the data. Let me read a couple more messages. Jack Fetter for 189. Boys have penises, girls have vaginas. I mean, thank you. I didn't know. That was valuable information. Deplorable for £5. Astronomy Live didn't answer the big question. Did planes dip their nose?
Oh, I did a whole thing on that.
I got 2 videos on that on my channel. Go check it out.
Astronomy Live, look at my video. Watch my video. Tell me I'm wrong.
Okay, I'll have to go watch your video.
So sorry.
One more bit, just a quick joke. Hackerman for $2 Australian says Polaris is near your big toe. It is. It's actually that way, which is kind of weird if the Earth is flat, if you ask me. Let me welcome Eric and Tony wanted to say something. I need to go to a toilet. I'll be right back.
Hello. Oh, Eric's job is
the next new Saros cycle is going to the next new Saros cycle is going to start in 2040, right? So Saros cycle 158, sorry, is going to start on July the 3rd, 2040. That is going to be an eclipse for which there is no previous eclipse. The last few to begin, I'm looking this up, obviously. Saurus 155 began in 1928, 156 began in 1946, Saurus 157 began in 1964. So Saurus cycles begin and end all the time. Once they've started, yes, every 19 years or so, you get another eclipse. But as Astronomy Live so eloquently explained, that doesn't give you the path of totality nor any of the details about it. You cannot predict using a flat Earth formulation when a new Saurus cycle will begin, nor when a Saurus cycle will end.
Yeah, here's the thing for Saurus cycles, like because of the fact that it doesn't give you the path of totality, like for either a lunar or a solar eclipse. Like I honestly have never seen anything about a Saurus cycle, even in a textbook. Like I have a degree in astronomy, and I have never seen anything about Saurus cycles, even in a textbook.
Yeah, I mean, I literally ran the prediction myself using my own spreadsheet. I never once used a Saurus cycle, ever.
Yeah.
It's not based on that. It's based on the orbit of the Earth and the Moon. That's how you have to have that to get the path of totality.
Look, if you're deriving your own equations, Astronomy Live, you're just showing off.
I mean, I am, but okay, I guess a little bit, yes. But to me, it's fun. It's like this little puzzle, you know, and you work it out, and then you get the answer, and it matches reality. It's like, oh, I get the dopamine hit from that, you know.
See, if I was teaching college astronomy, I'd have my students derive the path of totality. But I'm teaching high school. My students are not that equipped for the math for that.
Yeah, that's it. I have to say, Astronomy Live, I admire your dedication, the amount of effort you put in. Like, my argument would be, until they can explain why stars go in, why stellar paths are circular, I'm not interested. Like I'm not prepared to entertain any of these conversations in good faith at all. This quibbling over occlusions doesn't interest me. Give me a model that can explain why star paths are circular. And I've asked Alan for that, and he's just refused to sort of engage with me anymore. But you know, for reasons I think I can understand, but he will obviously dispute.
Hold on, who's not engaging with you anymore?
Alan from Space Audits.
Oh, okay.
So,
Beast.
Oh, sorry.
Is Beasticle still here?
No, he had.
Oh, he left. Oh.
I found those links and I pasted them in the side chat, and I also found. So this is just I'll read a little short clip excerpt about the delta T on the Saurus cycles and the Saurus cycle series, and then the eclipses within them. It says that the largest uncertainty in the eclipse predictions is caused by fluctuations in Earth rotation, due primarily to tidal friction of the moon. The resultant drift is apparent clock time to express as delta T. Before the 1950s, delta T was calculated by empirically fitting historical records derived from Morrison and Stefferon. From the 1955 till present era, delta T is obtained from published observations, and for the future, delta T is extrapolated from current values weighted by the long-term trend from tidal effects. So in reality, once again, they cannot precisely predict the timing. They have to update it as they go with observations in order to predict future ones to get the delta T down smaller and smaller. The closer they get to the actual event, the delta T shrinks.
Again, I predicted the 2017 eclipse and the 2024 eclipse, and I went and observed both of them where my spreadsheet said I should be, a spreadsheet that I originally developed in 2013. So
That's
I didn't
not
need
far,
to update.
bro. 13 years is nothing.
13 years is. I'd like to see you do it.
Years is a lot.
I would very much like to see you do it. Piezo,
were you
Piezo,
not listening when I was explaining that the next Saurus cycle, the next new Saurus cycle, will start in 2040, and that is not predictable from previous eclipses. Similarly, the last Saurus cycle to ended in 1971. So solar cycles start. During that time, they are the eclipses are regular, and then they end. You cannot just say we can predict eclipses from the previous eclipse because they start and they end. You cannot predict the first one, and if you predict that there will be another one after the solar cycle has ended, you're wrong. So you can be wrong in both ways. You can fail to predict an eclipse that does occur, and you can predict an eclipse that doesn't occur. So just saying because of previous entries in a solar cycle, I can predict the next one in a solar cycle.
Yeah,
that does not allow you to predict all eclipses.
So can I go back?
Oh,
to
really?
something he said
Because
here?
I have a 1,000-year canon of eclipses right here that I just pasted in the side chat.
Yeah,
Hang on.
good,
Let me say something. Piezo, the solar cycles can predict the timing. It can't predict the position of where the eclipse
The
is.
path of totality.
Yeah, exactly. It can't predict the path of totality. And one reason why I came on here is because there's a very funny story of when someone had to completely guess onto if the eclipse would be seen from their position for a solar cycle that they were using for that, where the timing was correct, but they really were not sure if the position was correct. How many of you know the story of Christopher Columbus's 1504 eclipse when for how he got back to Europe?
Oh yeah, I kind of vaguely remember that.
Yeah, so Christopher Columbus in 1504 was almost stranded in the Caribbean for problems that happened with like a ship in I think it was in Jamaica, and the locals didn't want to help him. And Columbus knew that a solar cycle was coming up with a lunar eclipse, and he was just like, all right, well, he had to hope that it was going to be one, a total lunar eclipse, and two, that it was going to be visible from Jamaica. And he was right that it was visible from Jamaica, but if it wasn't, he would have been stuck in Jamaica and would have died there. But it's a solar cycle that ended up being one that he actually could see from his position, because lunar eclipses, you have a 50-50 shot if it's visible from your location.
Can I ask Piezo a question?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Even before Haversign. So Piezo, you pasted that list of solar eclipses, right, in the chat. How was that derived?
So I just gave the link that stuff comes from, or a lot of that stuff.
How was it calculated?
Yeah, it comes from Fred Espenak, who uses a combination of solar cycles along with Magellan elements.
I see. I'm looking at the 2017 August eclipse. That would be a solar eclipse, right? That is on the list?
If it's on there, I mean, I don't know every eclipse that's on there.
Okay, so it says
Can confirm because I saw that eclipse.
It says 2017 August 7th. There should be a solar eclipse. I saw that eclipse. It was on August 17th. It is off by 10 fucking days. Your list that you pasted that was derived based on some flat earth math or based on whoever you said is off by 10 days.
My NASA.gov list is off by 10 days.
The list you pasted, the 1,000-year canon of lunar eclipses. I see. So that was a lunar eclipse.
Yeah. I think you're getting lunar confused. The solar eclipse, right? The path of totality. You mentioned delta T. You mentioned tidal forces, which is because of gravity of the moon, and as tidal forces are exerted by the moon on the Earth and the sun, for that matter, it slows the Earth's rotation, which gives us delta T. Right? That's all dynamical, right? So yeah, we can extrapolate what that's probably going to do in the future. The thing is, we can do it with such accuracy that I can create a spreadsheet in 2013 that works for predicting a total solar eclipse in 2024. And the moon, the tables of the moon that I used were published in the 1990s. The tables of the sun I used were published in the 19th century. Okay? Yeah, I created the spreadsheet in 2013, but I don't think you understand how impressive it is that based on an orbital elements of the sun that were calculated by a guy who's been dead for longer than NASA's been around, that I was able to predict where I needed to stand to see the 2024 eclipse. I'd like to see you do that with a flat Earth model. No one can.
I don't know. You should. I don't know. You should probably check with Shane and Mordwand on the $10,000 bet he raked in. I mean, I personally saw him get paid out on it. So
Shane has blocked me and hid my reply when I challenged him to predict the eclipse in October 3001. He does not want to talk to me about that at all. He
how are
wanted
you guys
to
ever going
censor
to
me
verify
from
it's
that.
accurate? It's 1,000 years from now. We're all going to be dead.
Jesse
couldn't even
Greg
produce a
on the
prediction.
Mod one claim in the back chat.
Well,
Are you aware that
can't we use the 2040 eclipse? So there is a new Soros cycle. This will be an eclipse for which there is no previously existing Soros cycle. It will start in 2040. So this is something that cannot be achieved. This prediction cannot have been achieved using Soros cycles because there's no previous eclipse in that cycle.
So
can that not be used to prove that to prove you wrong? Cannot the fact that previous Soros cycles have started 1928, 1965, for instance, new Soros cycle started. These are new series of eclipses that were not previous. So can we not use those to disprove your claim that every eclipse is predictable using Soros cycles?
So I will say this. If you remember last year, there was a solar eclipse that swept across the southeastern United States. And the week before that, they had, listed a path and a time. And if you will remember, the day of, they updated the path ever so slightly because of the live data as it comes in of watching the path of the sun and the moon leading up into the eclipse. They had to make a small, I don't know what the percentage correction was, 1 or 2% correction that they had to make. But the point I'm making,
I guarantee it wasn't
1 or 2% of what?
I guess
what are you
a
saying was
10-day
adjusted?
difference.
what my point is that if you want to talk about predicting future eclipses, you're saying that there's no way you can predict the path unless you use what? That's mutually exclusive to a globe.
The globe.
The globe and
Specifically, what do you do?
The moon's
Step by
relative
step, tell me.
positions and their relative position and their positions relative to the sun. So the positions of each of these objects through time, the relative positions of each of these objects through time is what is used to predict to predict eclipses. For that to work, you need a sun that is approximately 96 million kilometers away. Sorry, 140 million, 96 million miles, 140 million kilometers. And you need a sun that is, 320,000, something like that, kilometers away. It's incompatible with, those are the inputs. You'll have to forgive me, Astronomy Live. I'm sure I got those numbers.
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut there. Sorry.
I'm with you there, Astronomy Live.
I will. I want to dial it back just as coach, and let me remove this. So why don't we go back a little bit more to the basics? This is the prediction for what will happen on March the 20th. I will be in Montevideo, Uruguay, looking west, and the sun will go from my right to my left. Icy spin is going to be in Tallahassee, Florida, also looking west at the same time. And for him, the sun will go from his left to his right. It's plain.
That's right. What's the flat Earth prediction for that?
What say thee?
The silence of concession.
Well, here's an easy one for
Yeah,
Piezo.
Piezo, what's your prediction for why one of them sees it left to right and the other one sees it right to left?
And why both of them see it setting?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I was reading some stuff. What was the question, man?
So
March 20th, I will be in Montevideo, Uruguay, in the coast, looking west at the sunset, and it will go right to left for me in my looking west, right to left. And Icy Spin will be in Tallahassee, Florida, also looking west at the same time. And for him, the sun will go left to right. Explain.
You're talking about in the northern hemisphere versus the southern hemisphere?
That's right. Yep.
So the sun is in between you two, and he's looking south towards it, and you're looking north towards
No,
it?
no. Looking west. We're both looking west. We're looking at the sunset.
Okay.
I can show you how it works.
I have an easy question for Piezo. See, there's
No. Stop.
No, we're just gonna let him.
We'll stay on one topic at a
No,
time.
he's not going to run away from this. We're both looking west at the same time, and we're seeing the same thing move opposite ways. How does that work on a flat Earth? Because on the globe, it's very easy. I'm upside down relative to icy spin. That fixes
To
the
clarify,
problem.
Max, this is going to happen within less than a month from now, right?
Yeah, March the 20th.
Very,
And
very
we're
soon.
going to
Okay.
live stream it for everyone
3
to
weeks
see.
away.
Literally 20 days away.
Yep.
I can explain it on the globe. Piezo, go ahead.
Are you asking about, look, just to clarify, are you asking me how the sun, as it goes west and sets, appears to go clockwise or counterclockwise?
No.
No.
It's a fairly. Can I repeat the question that I thought I heard to see whether or not Piezo was actually paying attention? One of you is in Tallahassee. The other one is in Montevideo. You are both going to be observing the sun setting in the west on the evening of the equinox.
Yep.
You have longitudes that are approximately equal. One of you will be seeing the sun go from left to right as it sets, and the other one will be seeing it go from right to left as it sets.
Yep. Exactly.
Keep in mind that left to right is not east or west. East or west is east or west. Left and right is different.
Yeah, we are both looking to the west, the place where the sun sets. So right and left become absolute.
Yeah, that's why I said clockwise and counterclockwise.
No, it's got nothing to do with clockwise or anti-clockwise.
Well, if I'm looking at these pictures on the screen and I was looking from a top-down view, that yellow line on the left looks like it's moving counterclockwise, and on the right it looks like it's moving clockwise.
They're not looking at it top down.
I know,
No,
but
they're on the ground looking west.
I'm on the red circle.
I
looking
know,
west.
but I was okay. Yeah, I was trying to talk about the pictures on the screen in a way that left and right are like relative, so that's
No,
why
they're
I was.
not. That's
No,
why
they're
I told
not.
you we're looking west. It would be like we're both looking at a wall. So we're both looking at a wall, but I'm upside down. So right and left get crossed. But we're both looking in the same direction, the place where the sun sets, which is west.
Right, which would be a circle on a disc, or a circle around an equator on a ball. This is the spring equinox, right? So it's tracing a circle around the equator. So in either case, if you're on a ball, you would have a person slightly north of it looking west, and they would see it, curving up and to the right a little bit. And then on a person on the bottom side of a ball, they would see it tracing the equator west, which relative to them would appear like it slightly curves to the left a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It goes
You're saying
right to left.
on an FE, you would expect a person in the north to see it curve from left to right, and then a person in the south you would expect them to see it continue curving to the right instead of to the left. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows it very clearly here. It will go from my right to my left, and it will go from his left to his right. That's impossible on a flat Earth.
Well, question. I see where Piezo's coming from.
And this happens every day.
I see where Piezo's coming from here, but if the sun was local, do you believe the sun is local?
Well, I think that we're seeing a projection of the sun. I don't think we're physically seeing a ball of fire. I think we're seeing an image.
Oh god damn it. Okay, so is it local or is it not local?
Well, the projection is local.
Okay, so if they were to both also capture the sunspots on it and verify that they're both looking at the same face of the sun, what would that do for you?
It would paint. Go ahead.
So on a flat Earth, I mean, you'd be looking at different areas of the sun, right?
Well, you'd still be seeing a face of the bottom half of the sun, like being projected through the lens above our sky.
This leads to a whole nother discussion of
what?
like what's projecting the sun, holy
Well, the thing is, I
moly.
would say it's probably being projected out the bottom of the firmament. So it would be a
So
it
it's
would be a
projecting on
collimated
the
projection.
bottom of the firmament up to the firmament and then
No, the
reflecting
firmament
back
has
down.
like a thickness to it, right? So like I don't know
Right.
how thick it is, but it's like the
How
sun
did
would be
you
inside of
determine
it.
that?
Oh,
Can I ask?
The sun
You
would-
just
well, I'm
used.
a Christian,
you just,
right? So I just believe what the
You
Bible
just
says
used
about
the
it.
word probably.
Yeah,
you
you're wrong.
used the word probably. What is the probability you assign to the sun being projected through the firmament? What is the probability you assign to the firmament being real? What is it made of?
Yeah, so
How big is it? What are its physical characteristics? How does it sustain the strain of stretching over at least 13,000 kilometers?
Yeah, so I overlap a couple different things that make sense together, right? So like first, I begin with an assumption, like my worldview. I assume that there's a firmament, and then I say if there was one, what would I expect to see?
What is the
So-
probability you assign to
hold
the
on, let me-
existence
let
of
me-
the firmament? And
Yeah,
what is the
I'm trying to-
probability you assign to the existence of the firmament?
Well, based on my worldview, 100%. So
So
if
you're
So there's no chance you're wrong.
Well, I'm not saying there's no chance I can't be wrong. I'm saying that based on my worldview, I believe it to be true. So
Where in
anyways,
the Bible does it say the sun's a
if
projection?
there's a hold on, if there's a firmament, which I'm assuming that's my starting point, and I say, okay, what would I expect? I would expect that if it's a lens, right, then it would collimate the light coming through it. So what we would see was a collimated projection. Now, if you know anything about collimated projections, you know that they maintain the same angular size regardless of the distance of the light source. So I would expect to see a sun with a consistent angular size as it moves across the plane. That's exactly what we see. So it would be consistent with that.
Stacking assumptions with no supporting evidence for any of them.
It's just convenience. It's convenience. So where in the Bible does it say the sun is a projection?
It says in the Bible that there's a firmament and that the sun is inside of it.
Okay, so where does it say it's a projection?
But you said it was projected through the firmament. So is it inside or outside projected through?
It's inside and we're under it, so the light coming through it would come out the bottom and would be collimated by the lens of the material of whatever.
No, it can only come out through the collimated lens if it's above the lens. It can't come through a lens that is below.
That's fine. There could be layers to it. I don't know exactly how it all works. It's made to be unknowable.
It's 2026. How do you not know how it all works? I don't understand.
Dirt has been patiently waiting and has a
Oh,
question.
yeah, Dirt, what's
Go
up?
for it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
hey, Paizo, is that how you say your name? I have a question
Piezo.
for you. Piezo?
PSO.
Okay.
Piezo.
Piezo. Okay. Sorry. I apologize. I probably am going to pronounce your name wrong. So, okay, your whole thing is you're talking about the left to right, the right to left for the sun. So you probably do the same dumb shit that I've seen Witsit do with the clock on the roof and standing on different sides, everything like that. So if you have the number 9 and the 9 is facing north and you're standing at 9, if you're standing at north, it's going to look like a 9. If you're standing at south, it's going to look like a 6. But if you're standing at east and west, what does that look like?
I mean, they'd be flipped over relative to each other, be opposite.
In every direction, it would look like something different. Is that how we see it on Earth?
Like the orientation of the 9 and the 6 are 180 degrees from each other, and if you rotate them 90 degrees to be east to west, they would still be 180 from one another.
But that's not how it would work. If it was in a central location and you're looking from east or west, you'd be looking at the side of the 9.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It would be rotated 90 degrees.
Okay, but then everybody is looking at it a different direction. Is that how we actually see it on Earth?
Everybody, well, are you talking about looking directly due west at your position
So
versus another
when you're
due
looking
west
at the
their position?
moon, it flips from north to southern hemisphere. Does it ever flip right to left for people in the west or the east?
Does it ever flip right? Well, if there's a person with the moon at their zenith, and then there's a person like east or west of that person, and the person east and west of that person will see the moon flipped relative to the person in the middle.
No, they won't.
What?
No, they won't.
No.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So the only way the moon orientation flips is from north to south, and it flips 180. There's no 180 flip
Well, there's-
from west to east.
There's field rotation, right? But you don't get a change
But yeah,
in
but
perspective. The
it's
diurnal, so you get diurnal libration, right? You actually do get some diurnal libration from Earth
Yeah, but
rotating
it's
east
not
to west, but
gonna-
it's tiny. I can show you. I have a time lapse of it. It's tiny, but
Yeah,
I was
but-
able to use it to actually make a 3D picture of the moon as
the amount
No,
that
yeah,
it is.
I
the amount of
completely
the
agree.
amount
I've
of
had to adjust
vibration-
for it.
The amount of libration that we get over a full lunar phase cycle makes it so we can see 59% of the moon over a full month.
Right, and even over a few hours, there's a little bit there from Earth's rotation, but it's even smaller than that. It's not even 59%. It's like, tiny amount.
Yeah,
it's just
over like
enough.
one night is
Yeah,
very
I've
low.
had to
It's
adjust
very
for a 12-hour time lapse in my.
I got to ask you a question real quick, Dirt. So I'm assuming a globe model right now in my head. Okay, I'm going to assume that the moon is directly over the equator at the zenith of some person, like right under it. Okay, now there's a person many degrees due north of that person, many degrees due south, many degrees due east, many degrees due west. Right, so there's 4 people around the central person, so it makes a cross. Okay, so this person in the center of the cross sees the moon at their zenith. You're saying that the people to the north and south of them will see the moon flipped across the horizontal axis, but the people east and west of them will not see the moon flipped across the vertical axis?
Kind of, but no. So okay,
It wouldn't make any sense.
You
But why
have a
would there not be
9 on the
symmetry?
roof in a room. So you have a perfectly square room. You have a 9 on the roof. So you have someone standing on one side of the room where the 9 is towards the top of them, and someone on the bottom side of the room where the 9 is to the top of them, like how Max just flipped it. But then you also have someone to the left and the right. So every person in that room is going to see that symbol differently.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen on Earth. That's not a thing that we see.
Well, what I'm saying is, if I was to draw 4 arrows all pointing towards that 9, one from below, one from above, one from the left, one from the right, and you were to flip that paper so that the arrow was extending away from you towards the 9, all 4 of them should see 180 degrees flipped across one relative axis, either the horizontal or the vertical axis, depending on if it's east, west, or north, south. To say that
So
only
you're
north.
saying there's 100 degrees between
never
west
happens.
and north.
But I think the problem here is the assumption that the moon is local.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm absolutely using that assumption, but
And
but that's not.
And I think Piezo's point would instantly the fact that he's described something that should occur if the moon is local and doesn't occur.
Yeah.
Well,
that should suggest to you that the moon isn't local.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. There's no circumstance that you're going to see the moon in a circumstance where it should behave locally.
Like you don't get this or this ever. It flips this way or this way, whether you're in the north and the south, and that's it.
No,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
why would symmetry be broken? Like once again, if we're on a symmetrical sphere, and I use the cross setup that I just explained, and the moon's at the zenith of the center of the cross, if I spherically symmetrically rotate myself around a circle of equal radius, outside away from that zenith, whether it's to the north of the zenith, the south of the zenith, the east of the zenith, or the west of the zenith, every person, you're saying that the north and south relative movement will produce a flip, but the east and west won't. Why would that be? That doesn't make sense.
It's the relationship between Earth's axis of rotation and the moon.
Exactly.
And our orientation relative to that axis is what's changing as we move from north to south. But
Which
that
is what
isn't
causes
changing.
the
But that
the-
isn't changing as we move east or west.
and that's what causes that the sun will go right to left for me and left to right for icy spin on March 20th.
No, I mean, I get you factoring in Earth rotation, right? But once again, it's still, if we just freeze time, we're not in a time dependent situation. We're at a moment in time in my illustration. It doesn't make sense because who cares if the Earth has an axis that spins? In the illustration, it's not moving. It's time is frozen. So what doesn't make sense for me to rotate the sphere, right, 90 degrees, because in my illustration, it doesn't matter that the ball has an axis, right? The axis is not relevant. It's a symmetrical sphere. So I could rotate it any amount of degrees, and you wouldn't know the orientation of the axis. You could still draw a cross, and you would think that moving to either of the four quadrants of that cross would produce a rotation of the thing above you. How could only two quadrants produce it and the other two not? That's weird.
If you drew a 9 on a table right now and you walked around it, is it going to flip whenever you get to one side or the other, or is the angle to it going to change what it looks like to you, no matter where, or regardless of where, or in relative reference to where you are standing around it?
Yeah, the angle's going to change with
the top
relative
of it, it's going to look
respect.
one thing. Hold on. So if you're standing at the top of it, it's going to look like a 9. If you're standing at the bottom of it, it's going to look like a 6. But if you're standing to the side, to either one of the other sides, so east or west, it is going to look sideways. It's not going to look like...
Yes.
So,
except, okay, now
yes,
do the same experiment, except with a piece of paper that is a long way away.
Exactly.
Okay. Moving east or west by 6,000 kilometers or whatever is not going to produce a significant change in the orientation of the moon, because the moon is much further than that away.
Why would moving 6,000 kilometers north or south do anything different? A sphere's topology is symmetrical.
Because north and south, you're changing. A person in the north, can you see? I got is at this angle relative to the axis of rotation, and a person in the south is at that angle relative to the pole of rotation. So they're looking out at this object. The object seems one way up when you're up here. It seems the other way up when you're down there. So moving north-south causes a change in the apparent orientation, right?
Yeah, you failed to make me, see any differently on how going east-west would be any different than going north-south. Because once again, at a moment in time,
north-south, you're not doing that. You're staying like this, and the moon is a long distance away. 384,000 kilometers.
It's also that distance away for every other person.
I looked it up, having been chided by Astronomy Live. I can see him there. He's judging me.
Hold on a second, bro. If I have a basketball on my desk and I have a tennis ball on my ceiling, right, and I draw that cross I just explained on my basketball, and I put the center of the cross right underneath the tennis ball, and the tennis ball has 4 different colors on it and 4 quadrants. If I was to slide from the center to the edges, right, from the center of the basketball to the edges, I would see a different color being the closest color to me on each of the 4 quadrants of the basketball. So you saying that doesn't happen on the sphere of the Earth doesn't make any sense.
We're not. Oh my God!
I know what you're saying. It doesn't work that way in reality, but I'm saying that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because you're coping. We're not looking at the basketball. You're standing on the basketball, looking at another basketball.
At the tennis ball. I know. That's the analogy I just painted. That's what I just said.
No, it isn't, because you don't have the distances correct for starters.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
You're breaking spherical symmetry by saying Earth has a rotation axis, as if that changes anything when you freeze time and move across the surface of it.
But regardless, you would have to put that tennis ball at what? A couple miles from you to even make it analogous to what the sun is.
Yeah, it seems that what you're saying is we're measuring real world observation. This is what happens in real life.
But the sun isn't featuring
and that being on a basketball, looking at a tennis ball predicts it, as if there's a preferred direction in space where north-south is different than east-west across the symmetry of a sphere. It doesn't make any sense.
Are you
No,
saying?
because so you understand that the moon's orbit is very close to Earth's equator, right?
Sure.
It's only off by like 5 degrees or so.
Yeah, 5 degrees is about what it's out. So it's always very close to the equator. So again, bringing up this image, if I have this angle to something that's near the equator that is far away, and I'm looking at it, and then I move down here and I'm looking at something that's far away on the equator, I'm seeing them from different, from this one, I'm looking at it from one orientation. From this one, it looks like it's upside down. But if I move east-west, if I move around, I'm not changing the orientation of that object. I'm changing its elevation in the sky. I'm changing how high it is in the sky as I move east-west. But I'm not changing the angle that I'm seeing of it.
If we took all
this not penetrating?
Yeah, if we took all the topographical features of that ball off, so it didn't have an axis, it didn't have any continents, it was just a blue solid ball, so you didn't know what north or south or east or west was, you just knew relative to you, right? And we were to put another ball above it and draw the face of the moon on it, if you were to move in any of the 4 cardinal directions relative to you on that ball, you would expect to see an orientation change of the thing above you. If you don't know what north, south, east, and west are, if it doesn't have features, would you be able to predict which direction is going to cause a flip and which direction is not?
So again, that's not true, right? If for instance, so we're talking about moving around the edge that is tangential, where you're looking tangentially towards the object, north to south, right?
I drew the cross underneath the zenith point of the moon.
Okay. All right. So again, but it's a long way away, right?
Yeah, it would be like that no matter what direction you move in. You could draw 4 equivalent right triangles in the 4 at the edge of the 4 quadrants, bisecting the arc.
Let's consider the moon is directly overhead. Okay. Let's consider the moon is at your zenith. All right. Look up at the moon. Now turn around 180 degrees and look up at the moon again. Is it upside down compared to where you were at last time?
It would be 180 degrees flipped every time
Right.
you did.
Okay. So even a person at the same orientation, right, can change the apparent orientation of the moon just by undergoing a rotation, right?
Yeah, if you take the moon and the earth out of this, bro, what I'm trying to explain to you, you can use the same distances. You can use the same distances for any 2 spherical objects. If you're on a sphere and there's another sphere above you and you paint 4 quadrants of 4 different colors, red, green, blue, and yellow on that, and then you go on and create a cross on the ground underneath you, right? These are not earth and moon. These are just 2 balls of equivalent sizes and distances. You're telling me that there would be a preferred direction in space where going along one axis would cause a flip and the other one wouldn't? That doesn't make any sense. That breaks spherical and violates spherical symmetry.
And no, it doesn't.
No,
and
it
your
doesn't.
inability.
All right,
so the whole thing here is that
the people with
is
brains
no,
can understand that does. Like there's like a special pleading happening right now.
Talking over me is not the way to learn. You don't understand 3-dimensional geometry, and that's okay. But if you don't understand 3-dimensional geometry,
along what direction
may
is the
want
sphere?
to shut
is the
up and
symmetry
listen
line?
to somebody who does.
Wild that you're talking over a PhD.
Along what axis is the symmetry aligned in my illustration? Since there's no north, south, east, or west, it's just 2 balls in space. Along what axis is the
You
symmetry
don't
aligned
have
that
a
will cause a flip?
symmetry, but then again, we don't expect. So again, in the argument that you're talking about, where the moon is at zenith, right? You're considering a zenith point. You've drawn your cross underneath the ground position of the moon. In that case, there is no preferred orientation of the moon. Because your observer can rotate on the spot and pick whatever orientation he wants. And as he moves east or west, north or south, not a particularly large distance, he's not going to be moving he's not going to be changing that. That is going to remain the same. He can pick an observer there, can look at whatever, there's the moon directly above me. I can rotate around. Now it's upside down. There is no preferred orientation. It's when the moon is off to an angle at the side that you start suddenly seeing, well, okay, there's my horizon. My horizon is the meaningful reference here that I'm
So
going
thanks for
to
agreeing
judge.
with me.
You might want to be quiet while I'm explaining things to you, and the fact that you aren't tells me that you aren't really listening. It is the horizon that gives you the geometric interpretation of whether or not the moon has one orientation or another. When we say that the moon appears to flip, it appears to have a different orientation relative to the horizon. This is not a meaningful concept when you're talking about a moon that is at zenith.
So the cross extends across the entire hemisphere, right?
Right.
So you would go to the edge of the cross, the four corners of that cross, which would be at the extreme horizon of that hemisphere underneath the zenith of the moon in the center, and all four of them would see four different quadrants of the moon closest to them.
Yes, provide.
Thank you. That's what I've been saying the whole time.
Yes, assuming that the curvature were in any way relevant compared to the distance of the distance of the object. What you are talking about is the variation in libration with position, which has been touched upon, and Astronomy Live can produce some images of. I'm
glad we could all agree. It's now 2 a.m. I got to go, but thanks for finally agreeing with me. I think you
Wait.
I
got one more question for you. You have like
that makes sense.
30 seconds.
No, he left.
He left.
Womp
Oh,
womp.
dickhead.
Thank you, Pete.
Wait a second. This is a pure sausage fest now. Where are all the ladies at?
My wife's probably in
no
bed.
more flirfettes hanging around.
And sorry, I owe Astronomy Live an apology. I came in on his stream and I've been talking an awful lot. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
All right. Well, I'm gonna send you a super chat anyways, Max. I was loading it up. So.
The lady flip we need is that lady that was on Toon's TikTok the other time that he had the TikTok stream. What was her name again?
Rhonda?
Rhonda, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I see Spin for $2 says once in the chat if Piezo makes you want to run into a wall.
One
maxed out character limit on that one, baby.
He makes me want to put a toothpick under my toenail and kick a wall.
All right.
I will thank him for reminding me that it is 2 a.m. right now, and I probably should go to bed at some point.
It's Saturday tomorrow. Who cares?
All right, I'm gonna give you the setup. If we're on a flat Earth, guys, Piezo, random guy in the sky, why is it that the sun doesn't change size throughout the day? To which he would respond, of course, Max.
Oh, he said because it was a collimated light, and that's why it doesn't change size as it moves away from you.
Yeah, it's
that's what he said.
How that works.
So why does it have a different orientation as you change latitude?
Well, I mean, he's not ready to answer those.
No, he went off script. The script is normally, well, of course it does. It changes size throughout the day. We have evidence of this. We have proof of this. We are flat Earth. Ooh, right.
Oh yeah.
Or something to that effect, right?
I see Spin showing.
To which I would say, oh, really? Is that the case? Well, then why the fuck doesn't it change?
Oh, so good.
Here, when Red's Rhetoric showed it
like Red's footage.
in Tampa Bay, Florida, 682, 684. I don't know if it goes higher than 684, but the fact is, Piezo, now that you're looking at this from beyond, you can plan for your next argument the next time that we will cross paths. I'll allow you the luxury of making notes. All right, we're at 684 pixels. Right now, it's approaching 9 a.m. in the morning. This is a video that Red's Rhetoric shot in, I want to say 2018, somewhere in there, 2019. I can get the exact date, but what I did is I drew up a Python script which finds the best circle of any image that you send to it. And so I cropped out. You can't see the making of the sausage, as it were. But what I did is I cropped out the middle of Red's Rhetoric's image, which is located here in the top left, appropriately, for you guys. But anyways, I cropped it out so that you could see it in the middle of the screen, and I had every single frame of his original video. I drew a perfect circle that was found by the Python script. And it turns out, oh, and by the way, then it gave you the dimensions of the perfect circle that it drew, and it follows it right there. So you can see that it largely remains consistent. Every frame here and there, it might go to 686, might go to 682. I'm going to mark that up to an error. But the fact is, when we're looking at a 682 to 684 pixel range, right, we're talking about something on the magnitude of what, 20.25% error or something like that when it comes to a pixel. So the fact is that according to this data and this simple demonstration of a photograph that was shot in the form of a video repeated multiple times, and I have many videos that have done this too. This was one of my first few videos on the internet, and it remains consistent in terms of the diameter. Pixels are a unit of measurement. Meters are a unit of measurement. Inches, kilometers, all of these things can tell us something about the nature of the world that we live in.
Yes,
And
that the pixels are on a screen and screens are flat, therefore are flat. Got it.
Right.
What I'm appreciating here is we are watching field rotation in real time. Because if you, I've been watching these.
I'm glad you saw that, Mike.
Yeah, the solar, the sunspots. They started on the right side and now they're on the left side.
Yeah,
So
and you can notice every now and again he has to kind of catch it up, and it skips up a little bit. And guess what? That's human error. That's trying to make sure that it's staying in frame. Things aren't perfect in meat space, right? MC Tune, if you're ever watching this, I don't know. But the fact is that he shot this with a solar filter. Mike brought up a great point that he can notice the orientation. How the fuck can he notice the orientation? Well, the simple fact is there's a solar filter on this that allows you to virtually eliminate the glare that is present when you and I look at the sun without glasses and lose our eyesight at an early age because of that. So, and you'll notice here as it's approaching the end of the shift, right? Ready to check out, ready to clock out, get that money, son, get that paycheck. It starts to bow sort of like a football, right? And that's totally expected behavior. I'll back it up just a little bit. Right here, can you notice the gap?
Yep.
Why does that happen, Piezo? That might be a question you'll have, right?
Lowers
Simple.
horizon.
That's right. We're approaching the lower part of the atmosphere where refraction is the greatest, and vertical refraction is very common. Horizontal refraction, not so much. There is a small use case for when horizontal refraction occurs, but to skip to the point, we expect this behavior, this bowing behavior where it starts to squeeze in, because again, being honest, doing an observation like this, drawing the perfect circle, I'm willing to put my name behind the fact that this is evidence for the Earth. This is a perfect sphere. These pixels that are represented here are accurate. And my question is, how does this make sense on something that is small and local, that flat Earth requires to be true?
Or projected.
You know what that looks like?
Collimated light, bro.
That looks like one of those thumb screws I had in my water tank, doesn't it?
Right?
Yeah, look at that.
And actually, here, hang on. I wanted to say something if Piezo didn't leave, because someone brought up the field rotation notice in this thing, because that's probably an Alt-Az mount that was used on that one. My question that was going to be for Piezo if he stuck around was, for equatorial mounts, you don't get field rotation.
Right.
How do you have an equatorial mount in the southern hemisphere? Because equatorial mounts in the southern hemispheres are not aligned with Polaris; they're aligned with Sigma Octantis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I posted a link to a video from 14 years ago. Apologize for the quality, but I did a video 14 years ago comparing the field rotation over an hour of the moon, and then putting the telescope on a polar aligned wedge and showing that it doesn't show field rotation.
I'll show it again. Give me 1 second, because I did pull it up for a moment. boom, here. Copy link. And after this, we'll start wrapping up. And don't worry, everyone who's in the back room, will give you a chance to speak before final thoughts. And I can't believe we had people waiting on the back room all night. So thank you, everyone, for that and for your patience. So this is what Astronomy was talking about.
Yeah, it's almost an hour of footage. This is with the telescope mounted out as, so you see how it's slowly rotating there. So you get a little field rotation there. This was, again, like 14 years ago when people were claiming that this was unusual, that the moon would appear sideways in what they call sometimes a Cheshire moon, especially from Florida. We see that. We see that in some of the Artemis photos now. They saw it in the Apollo photos back in the 1970s. That's what I pointed out 13 years ago when I did my spreadsheet, showing that, look, I can predict exactly what we see with these photos with the sideways moon. But then I mount the scope polar aligned and show that you don't see this field rotation when you polar align. What you do see in the previous video that you showed from me was over an even longer period of time, over the course of the night, you do get some libration. It's just not a whole lot. It's not nearly what you get over the course of the month, but you do get some diurnal and a bit of the month's libration over the course of even a single night. And you can see that the Earth or that the moon is three-dimensional that way.
I'm pulling that one up too. 1 second. There we go.
Yeah, 4-hour time lapse. This was November of last year, and this is that time lapse kind of playing. I don't know how many times accelerated, but it's not even enough for you to notice anything's happening. But when I really crank up the speed, you see the shadows changing there at the terminator. I love that. You can see the shadows changing there at the terminator, and you can see the shadows shrinking on some of those mountains near the terminator. And then due to the eccentric orbit of the moon and a bit of that diurnal libration, just from a little bit caused by Earth's radius and diameter as you go from one side to the other, you see this wobble over the course of 4 hours. Like I said, it's not nearly as much as what you saw in that month-long simulation showing what the moon would do. But even in just a few hours, you get this. And I use this to construct a stereographic image of the moon. And so if you watch this in VR and like a Quest headset or some other VR headset on YouTube, you can actually see this in 3D. It's pretty cool looking to see it in 3D. Or if you
Mike's
got
grabbing his headset
I'm going to do that right fucking now. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I mine is put away, but I'll make sure to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, check it out. It's pretty fun. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with that result.
All right. Let me
Wait,
do
is this a real photo?
This is
I
a
want to
real photo.
authenticate this. Okay,
Yeah,
it's a real photo.
It's,
Okay.
it's stacked, of course, but it's a real photo. And in fact, it's actually two stacks. Yeah, it's two stacks. So it's only showing you one here because we're just watching it in 2D. But in 3D, of course, it's one stack from the beginning of the time lapse and one stack from the end of the time lapse to get that stereo separation due to the libration.
All right. That is damn so much material shared today. I want to read a couple of things and we'll do final thoughts and we'll be on our way. Hackerman became a new member. Thank you so much. You can now enjoy some of the best emojis out on the internet. Gravity Hits Hard for 10 Australian dollars says PhD Tony rules. I feel his pain. I agree. Gravity Hits Hard gifted 5 Shirama Talks memberships. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can get to see who they are. Oh, it's a little bit way back. I'm so sorry. I can't mention who they went to specifically. Dragon Sword for $2.99 Australian says, I can't get flares to explain the inner planet. We did this one for Micey Speed. Thank you so much. Gravity Hits Hard for 10 more Australian dollars. Thank you so much. You're very generous. He lost me with people with a brain. Max and Tony have huge fucking brains. Listen to them. Well, I thank you for the compliment, but having PhD Tony and Astronomy Live here, like I'm the dumbass. Just like being plain.
What does that make me,
compared
Max?
to them? I'm the idiot.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
And Mr. Eban gifted 10 more Shirama Talks memberships. Thank you so much. They went to Al Tracker, Cool V1C, Daryl M, Goran Anderson, LP0 on Fire, Grave Runner, Steve Bauman, Tim Hunter, and Dirt, who is right there. Thank you
What's up,
so
Dirt?
much. You can now
Nice.
enjoy some of the best emojis on
Thank
the
you.
internet. All right. We'll start. I'll start with you, Dirt, and I'll start rotating people out, and we'll go this way. Final thoughts. Dirt, you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
It was interesting. I mean, I wish I would have been able to make the debate itself. Unfortunately, I'm in the process of moving, so I missed it. I really am trying to get involved in this community more. It was weird to see someone deny basic observations, but I do thank everyone here for letting me talk, and I do thank PhD Tony because he explained things way better than I ever could because I'm dumb as shit. And Astronomy Live, you're awesome, dude. I'm gonna have to pick your brain at some point. Thank you guys. Bye.
All right. Thanks so much, Dirt. Thank you for your patience in holding on. We had a busy stage tonight. Let me bring another legend there. But Icy Spin, final thoughts.
Going to be plain and simple. Astronomy Live brought the goods. He laid out the story really well. He made it easy to understand for the audience. Alan did not. Alan was on the defense after his short offense, which was his opening statement, which is to be expected, right? For someone that doesn't bring evidence, they resort to laughs. They try to find some ridicule, some sort of way to justify. For example, I asked him how the sun sets. He said that it goes to sleep. That's a non-answer, right? Trying to find this fucking dumbest way to get out of a serious discussion, which, to be fair, it's not, right? It's part of the game that he brought up, right? Which, no, I mean, like, yeah, we're trying to get to truth, right? If you're trying to get to truth, why do you consider it a game? Like, let's try to investigate who's right, who's wrong, where are the mistakes in my methodology, what am I missing here out of 38 times that I've presented this? Why am I being told by a select few individuals named Jesse Path of Light, Astronomy Live, which he did 9 months ago, mind you? He introduced the fact that he basically named a comet. He named a comet after himself because he discovered it. He predicted its path.
Name it. I didn't. It's not named for me. It's named for the spacecraft that I used. But nevertheless,
You're killing my argument. I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
Just kidding. But he was able to predict its path, right? And when it would show up, and the way that it moved throughout the galaxy, the Milky, what have you. He can tighten it up for me. The solar system. And there was a simple question that I posed to him at the very end of that debate, and it said, if he was able to predict the comet and the way that it was able to move, then how does that not get evidence for the Earth? And he said that honestly, he doesn't know. And that was basically the end of the debate. And right, and for him to step back up and still have these thoughts, still have these considerations that he hasn't sort of connected to the grand scheme of things, which is all of the evidence that's been presented to him time and again on Discord, time and again on YouTube. He needs to take a step back, him and Shane both, instead of laughing off the thing that they just don't like for whatever reason, whether it's religion, whether it's the misogyny that creeps into both of their lives and is very obvious on all of their lives. I don't know what else to do. I mean, it's entertaining, right? We're all here. People made money for super chats because it's providing a service. And again, you did a great job at Astronomy Live, and I appreciate Reds the way he moderated. It was fair. It was totally legit. It was exactly what I would expect. And yeah, I had a good time. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Icy Spin.
And just, I want to clarify something that you said, Icy Spin, just because I think you said he brought it. I will admit that I said for the love of the game as a joke, but for me, and I tried to explain this in detail, the game is, how accurate can I make my observations? What is the farthest, hardest thing I can find to even track with a telescope? Like finding a balloon 150 kilometers away at 17 kilometers altitude. That to me is an accomplishment that I'm proud of. That required a whole lot of effort. So
is it fair to say that he took the way that you presented it as a game as it's who wins the debate sort of thing, right? Like,
Yes.
let's see who gets it right.
Yes.
So he sort of has a different approach to the way that we see things. Of course, it's like, hey, give me something hard to give me the ball. Like, I'm gonna try to shoot it from half court. If I make it, I'm gonna try to shoot it from full court. I'm gonna keep going. Let me find out where my limit is. Let me work on it. Let me figure out how to hold the ball, whatever, right? His thing is like, hey, how can I win the debate? How can I manipulate the conversation? And it just comes off a little bit disingenuous, I think, on that end for him. So that's just kind of what I was feeling. Maybe there's a bias here. Maybe the audience felt differently, but I do feel like he was sort of trying to agree with you on a point that you weren't making, and maybe I missed it even in translation. But now that I hear you say it, like, of course, that's what you meant when you introduced the fact, like, about the game. So,
yeah. PhD Tony says, sorry, I accidentally closed the window. My final thoughts, Astronomy Live is a legend, and I should talk less. It's fine. It was perfectly fine today.
It flowed
Don't
well.
worry about it. He is a legend, though, an absolute legend. And I've invited myself to go play at his house whenever I get myself over to the US.
We'll play beer pong.
Yeah.
Like we're in college.
Conspiracy Music Studios for 10 euros. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Thanks for the shows, Max. Well, thank you. Gravity hits hard for 10 Australian dollars. Sorry, all have big brains. I hate Dave Weiss. Oh, yeah. The hashtag Dave Weiss is a scammer. And
Also a potato.
also a potato. Yes.
I thought he spelled it all incorrectly on purpose.
He corrected himself here. Thank you so much. I actually got it, but you're very generous. Thank you for all your support. Tori said, thank you, Red and Astronomy Live for this. Yeah, absolutely. Hackerbot said, enjoy today's live. Awesome work, Max. Thank you. I had a lot of fun. And Gravity Hits Hard for 2 Australian dollars says, holy shit, was that the guy who found the comet? Yes. And if you want, I will give you his Twitter, and someone will probably surely help me with sharing his YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed to Astronomy Live, what the fuck are you doing? All right.
Robin Webster in the chat. If you have to ask what DP is, you're not old enough to know.
DP is
I don't want to elaborate. I'm going to stand pat on that.
Deadpool. It's okay. It's nothing dirty or anything like that. All right.
It's Deadpool.
That's what it means. Yeah, exactly.
Mike,
Yeah.
deplorable. Final thoughts.
Well, firstly, I'd like to call out Piezo for basically being disingenuous. And I asked him a question in the back chat that he completely ignored, and then posted a question in back chat and wanted us to address. I thought PH Stoney had far more patience with him than I would have, because I'm like 6 beers in.
Cheers.
May I ask you a quick question, Gurney? When you were talking with him in back chat, was he sort of going back and forth and then just like decided not to continue, sort of thing?
No, he just completely ignored it.
Okay.
And then posted a question and expected us to answer it. And I replied in the back chat and said, why should I read your shit when you completely ignored mine?
But he was engaging. There wasn't a chance he missed it. Like that's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, and it was like all against him. So I mean, a little bit of leeway we have to give him.
Well, that was the best. That was the best bit about it. It was like how many like how many people understand 3D geometry does it take to explain to one flat earther?
It may be my fault, John. I think I interrupted. Gurney, I'm so sorry. You had the floor,
yes, Mike,
and I shouldn't have interjected. So,
but
please
again, I'd
continue.
like to call him out for his lack of commitment, because he ran off to bed, he buys at 2 o'clock in the morning, whereas it's now 7:30 here, and I'm missing Wagga.
All right.
Watch us live, and I'm missing it. But
oh, well, I mean, it's worth it. We had a lot of fun.
It is
today.
worth it.
Mike, thank you so
as
much
for
for
the-
all your
as for the
patience for
debate,
staying
as
up
for-
late.
As for the debate, my final thoughts on the debate were Alan did exactly what we thought he was going to do. He was going to throw as much mud against the wall as he could. He was going to throw as much confusion and as much doubt as he could. He wasn't going to explain his position. And he was working on the theory that bullshit baffles brains. Astronomy Live presented what the Celestial Theodolite is clearly, concisely, explained the issues with it, explained how it works, and explained how it doesn't work. And Alan had no answers and
All right.
ran away.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm going to put you in the back so we can bring Astronomy Live to get his final thoughts. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the after show. And final thoughts for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for hosting the after show. I kind of felt like it was debate 2.0, or it was a debate appendices here for sure. I wasn't quite expecting that, but hey, I had a good time. I mean, the funny thing is the difference between how Alan approaches the subject, say, and who was the first? I can't remember the screen name of the first.
Beasticles.
Beasticles. Sorry, I'd never heard of them before. So, but you know, they asked some questions that I thought were fairly honest, and I feel like I could almost reach them, you know, in the rabbit hole. Like they weren't so far down, and I could kind of get through that. Hey, you know, this is what's really going on here with the refraction, and this is why I'm saying that it's the apparent angle that matters. I'm probably wrong about that. DPD bunks is saying, and Ornfork is, no, you can't reach him. You can't reach him. And that's maybe true. But the difference is Alan is not, well, clearly to me anyway, not approaching it in a way where he's trying to learn the truth. And even to some extent, Beasticles too, because Beasticles was saying that, like, look, we know that theodolites exist. We know that the angles agree generally with the globe. That's what we're having trouble with. And so we came up with this way to try to make some hay out of refraction low on the, low in the elevations close to the horizon, and see if we can get something that matches flat Earth. So that's confirmation bias, right? But he was honest about that. Alan won't be as honest about that with me. He's not as he plays his cards close to the vest. He's not gonna let that cat out of the bag, right? He knows I'll tear into that. Beasticles, maybe he said the quiet part out loud accidentally, but he said the quiet part out loud. And I think that was helpful to really go through that and look for the gaps in understanding. And maybe that won't help him, but maybe it'll help someone else. And so I don't know how. I actually feel like that conversation in some ways was more productive than any conversation I had with Alan tonight. But I do hope my presentation at least was helpful to people who are looking at this, baffled by all the formulas and all the equations and references Alan is giving at the beginning to, stir up the mud and make it more opaque and hard to understand. And I'm just cutting right to the chase and saying, here's what it is. Here's what they're doing. Here's why it's wrong. And so, if people have honest questions about that, I am happy to address it. I love to address it. But it went about like I expected. I kind of thought Alan would maybe be even more resistant to my data than he was, which is to say he basically didn't pay attention to my data. But I thought he might just outright accuse me of lying. I don't know. But that's not really his style necessarily. But we'll see what he does with it. Maybe in a month he'll say, you know what, I think Astronomy Live is lying. And if that's the case, then we'll have a very lively second debate. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. I'll believe it when I see it.
Someone posted a comment and said that if you had given him all of this beforehand, that he would probably not have shown up. And I think that it's like a fair assessment of the situation. That could have been definitely a possibility. But I think you're an absolute legend, and doing their method with the planes and the balloons was just such a creative strategy. And such a technical difficulty of, like I said, the analogy of you growing the wheat, grinding the flour, and then baking the cake. Absolute delight. I was his face when you started showing that was I didn't have enough time to clip it, but
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and look. I wasn't even looking at his face. I don't know what his face looked like. I want to go back and watch the replay and see that, because I bet it's gold. I remember when I had the thought, when it came to my head, oh, I know what's higher than a mountain. What can I see in Florida? Airplanes. We have plenty of those. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
Just to give you an idea, Astronomy Live, what his face looked like. Have you seen that Simpsons clip, Ralph Wiggum, where it's like, you can see the moment where his heart breaks right now. It's a little like that.
Yeah.
Gravity, his heart, gifted 10 more Shadow Mate Dogs memberships. Thank you so much. You're very generous. And they went to Electron Element, Robin Webster, who's in the side chat, NetTube user, Monkey Cat Papad, yes, something.
Hell yeah.
Craig Pool, Steve6464, X Illusion, Jonathan, Bert Whistle, and Rick Shout. Thank you so much for that. Tony says, please, where is it on the list here? Sorry. Tony says, please, here. Apologize to Astronomy Live on my behalf. Mea culpa. It's all good.
Sorry.
Earthly Skeptic, final thoughts.
It was a phenomenal debate, very well moderated. Astronomy Live, you were fantastic. I liked how you did your experiments. Alan was hopeless. He displayed zero knowledge of math. He displayed no mastery over what he was doing, and he got embarrassed. And I also want to mention that if these had been sent to Alan a month ago, he would not have responded. I actually refuted Celestial Theodolite a very different way, a very orthogonal way a month ago, sent that to Alan and all his friends. He's not responded yet. So I don't think he's going to respond.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone caught it. I said it at some point in the debate. I said, how's your response to Earthly Skeptic coming?
I guess he ignored that. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. He said he's working on it. He's working on it. He'll get back to you. Don't worry. Check this out.
I'll wait.
In fairness, it's difficult to respond to a comprehensive and cohesive argument when you're just a Poe. So
that's true. I mean, flat, and they have to translate it to flat GPT and so on.
Of course.
Yeah.
Great debate.
Look at this. Look at this. Angles require flat baselines.
I forgot to say.
What did Oakley show up in
chat? Steel City, final thoughts.
Okay. My final thoughts are that it was
We're out of time. Sorry, still moving on.
Dang it. It was pretty enjoyable to watch the debate. Of course, when Alan had his allotted time, it kind of dragged. But overall, it wasn't like Earthly Skeptic said before me. I'm looking forward to a possible part 2, since he wasn't prepared for all the information that you had today, but he's got to look over the data apparently, and he thinks it's like a trial where you should have shared all your information beforehand or something. But yeah, looking forward to part 2. Keep doing you, Astronomy Live. Max, Unforticated, keep doing you, but without back issues. Drunk Debunk, keep doing you. Eric, keep doing you unless you get that better job you're trying to get. DP Debunks. Actually, you know what? Like you, I'm just going to keep this short.
All right. Thank you so much. John, final thoughts.
Yeah, apologies to Astronomy Live on this one. I didn't actually catch the debate because of the time zone I'm in. I caught a huge chunk of the after show though when my 7-year-old decided to jump into bed with my wife and I and start kicking me in the kidneys. So it's I just am absolutely flabbergasted that the basic like 3D geometry of our solar system is still being obfuscated so like vociferously by people that are just it's an intention that there is an obvious intent to not understand in order to Poe. It's just because they like being listened to, they like thinking they're the smartest person in the room. They can't not understand at this point. They've been battered around the head with so many arguments, so comprehensively, that it must be the case that they either have a railroad spike jammed in their ear, they've effectively lobotomized themselves, or they're not understanding on purpose because it either generates them attention or money or some kind or the other. So my concern is exactly as Deplorable said in the chat. The function of these conversations is to stop other people who can be saved from falling in this pit, not to convince the people that you're actually having the argument with because they're lost, either because they're dishonest or they're so stupid that there's no helping them anyway. So yeah, that's kind of that's a general my general final thoughts on the whole flat Earth ecosystem as a whole. But yeah, I will go back and watch the debate Astronomy Live.
Yeah, it's linked in the description of the stream if you want to check it out. It's over on Red's channel. But yeah, I would recommend it. It's let me see if I can describe it. It's someone showing up with a butter knife to a rocket launcher fight. That was Alan.
How can somebody not understand something as simple as like the planes of rotation? I mean, like I was thinking while you're talking about it, he's talking about the moon and how it flips up and down. Like and the problem is if you took a photo of the moon in the northern hemisphere and a photo of the moon in the southern hemisphere, and because the moon does have topography on it, you can demonstrate its orientation. They would go, well, yeah, but how do I know that you've not just turned the camera upside down or the picture was supposed to be the other way up? Okay, so just take a picture with some buildings in the foreground and the moon in the background, and that will give you the orientation of the picture of the moon relative to the observer. But how are we still having arguments with this? Like, I can explain this to my daughter by just I can physically hold her upside down and then spin around on the spot. Like you can. It's such like the thought experiment. You could get like a glass clock. A glass old analog clock. And so you can see the hand spinning through both sides and flip it one way and flip it the other. Done. Like geometrically, with argument over, but that we're still having this fucking argument. It's mad.
All right, thank you so much. Gravity Hits Hard for $10 Australian says, this is for DP, my fellow Aussie. I'm going to give him the message, but I'll keep the money if that's okay, right? Thank you so much. For that.
Fair.
Eric,
I take money from Max all the time.
Eric, I had almost forgot about your new application for the job. I'm keeping all my fingers and toes crossed for you. I really hope that you get it. Final thoughts. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
All right. Yeah. So for the debate, I'm definitely going to have to go back and watch that when I sober up because I came into it when I came in late. 2, I was already buzzed when I came in, and 3, I was drinking even more as the debate was going on because I was also watching a hockey game while the debate was going on. So I'm definitely going to have to rewatch this one. But I definitely, for those of you that were reading the chat as the debate was going on, I cannot take credit for that globe-shaped flurfs comment. That is one that came from when Shane and Alan were both on a modern day debates thing, and someone commented that. And now anytime I see any flurf that looks like that, I will always think globe-shaped flurf. So please. I don't know who it was that came up with that comment. I will always remember that.
That is perfectly fine. Thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah, for the job application, that I'll have to wait until next month before I even hear anything back from them, if anything. And even with that, like the job does sound very good. The problem is that the location is not exactly a spot I want to move to because it would be middle of nowhere, even for the state of West Virginia, which is already middle of nowhere. So we'll just have to see on that one how it goes. The application was more of a testing the waters to see if I would even get a call back from them.
Still keeping the fingers crossed for you, and even if you're in the middle of nowhere, you have the internet, you have us. So
I honestly may not even have much of the internet because this telescope is inside of a U.S. radio quiet zone.
Ooh. Oh yes.
Oh
yeah,
boy.
It's a great for Astronomy Life. Might know this telescope.
I know exactly where that is. Yeah.
Area 69.
My favorite area, by the way, and orientation.
Thank you so much, Dan. I saw you waving that bottle around. How much did you have to get in to tolerate all of the nonsense?
Tony was holding his head. I was sitting on my hands because I was going to start jumping in, and there was no need for me to jump in with Eric Burns here and PhD Tony and Astronomy Live. I just kind of like, I just figured, well, now I might as well do shots. No, I mean, the debate was pretty much what we expected. Astronomy Live came with, he came correct, and he basically trounced everything because, he learned math and applies it. So go figure. Yeah, I'm interested to see if there's a part 2. I have a funny sneaking suspicion that's not going to happen, but I digress. But
It
to
would be a
Piezo's
part 3,
point,
by the way.
the moon's not local, the sun's not local, and the firmament has to be roughly 239,000 miles away, because that's been proven by, if it's a physical object, it has to reflect radio waves, and that's been proven by amateurs thousands of years, including by myself. And so there you go. I don't know what else to tell you about it. So unless you can disprove that and not do something stupid and call it like, oh, you sent little photons. Oh, yeah, you know what? But until you learn how a radio works, you don't know exactly what it is that we did, and therefore you can't disprove it. So it's still a globe. It's still not flat. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you so much, Dan. I saw you unmute there. Do you want to say something, Astronomy Live?
Oh, I was just going to say one final thought I had forgotten that I had, but just encouraging everyone that if you see any situation where you need to know or you need to use the radius value of the Earth, like I said, I'm adopting 6375 kilometers now, since that's the value I got out of the Celestial Theodolite data. So every time I use that now, I'm going to say, thanks, Alan. Thanks, Alan.
Wait, there is one point I wanted to make. And I said this in the chat, but I'll say this so everybody else can hear it. Using a weather balloon for his experiment, and then using the same measurements from the weather balloon was a chef's kiss of not, self-derived bullshit or whatever Alan was calling it. It was or self-referential, excuse me. But it was a chef's kiss to be able to sit there and say, this is the object I'm looking at, and here's all the measurements between me and the object. And the funny thing is that I don't know what your sample size was, Astro, but I'm guessing that you had a very astute refractive index gradient, as depending on the elevation, the humidity, and everything else. So it's not just say, oh, I'm going to take one measurement and I'm going to apply this, or I'm going to apply a standard model like the shortcuts we use. You actually had one derived that had 5, 6, 7, 10 different measurements that actually gave you the entire gradient all the way through in specific blocks. And I think that was perfect and an absolute chef's kiss. And basically there's nothing they can say about that, as you saw them struggling to even understand what you were doing.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. I just want to point out again, like, yes, I was interpolating the values between each data point, and each data point is about 1 second apart. So as that balloon is slowly going up at about 5 meters per second, every 5 meters, I'm getting a new data point, and I'm just interpolating between them. And there's basically no difference between this 5 meters. I mean, MC Toon's shown it on stream, right? You can like hold your phone up and you get a little bit of difference, but it's very tiny, right? So yeah, interpolating at 5 meter intervals, not bad at all. And I've got some additional data that I didn't get to in this debate. I want to share it with you on Fornicate. I don't know if I've shown you. I don't know if you've seen what everything else I've got, but I got some other stuff too that was pretty fun.
Well, you know how to get to me, and also using the VHF radio from the planes was pretty good too, because like you said, you're able to extrapolate. Because again, these folks don't understand that that an altimeter, even a barometric altimeter, just the piece of equipment alone has a 50-foot error margin, and that's not taking consideration the pressure differentials and everything else, and how pressures can change and everything else, and that they actually change the altimeter to the exact same pressure, so that way they're all basically relative to each other. And I mean, that's a beautiful point in its own right.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. Mike.
Beautiful job, Astronomy Live. I'm walking out of that debate a little bit smarter on because of what you presented, not because of what Alan presented. It was very comprehensive, and as I said before, it was very hands on, and that's the best way that I learned. And the purpose of a debate isn't to convince the other person that you're debating; it's to educate the audience, and you did a fantastic job with doing that. So I wanted to give you kudos on that. It was very fun. Aside from all the office jokes that we're making in the watch party, it was a good time. But it was a lot of fun watching you and completely annihilate Alan, and his, you could just see with his eye movements when you said something and he would like look up to the left or look up to the right or like dart back and forth. Like just watch it and you'll be like, yeah, he's squirming.
He was
right now.
on the Discord furiously typing, "Help, Ryan!"
Exactly. And one thing I do
that on your live when we were over there.
Mike,
we were like, "Oh, look, Max is doing the thing right now."
That's never going to get old, man. That's
No,
never
it's
gonna
not.
get old.
No, and Icy Spin, I was like, I can hear Max saying it, and Icy Spin was like, yeah, he's turned around, screaming at his wall, right?
It's exactly the same.
It was so good. But there is this one thing I wanted to bring up that flat earthers always bring up. Like, for instance, that guy M88 says, Haversine formula assumes the globe. Is it wrong? Like, is the formula wrong? So, like, it's that kind of stuff. Like, oh, it assumes this, it assumes that. It's like, yeah, but we use it as an accurate measurement of what we need to get. Like it doesn't matter what it assumes. Is it correct? Then we can use it, right? It assumes the globe, whatever. I just wanted to get that off my chest because
that guy also said this, so I'm just going to give him one of these and we'll be on our way.
But here's the thing too, like
sorry,
I love that one. It's like I completely forgot what I was going to say now. See, this is when I start taking shots. No, it was something that Mike said. That science is built on assumptions. You make assumptions, and then you experiment to validate those assumptions.
Right.
That's part of the scientific method.
Yep.
Well, this is exactly what I was thinking. But like, just
take
like
competing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
No, sorry.
Fight.
Mike's trying to end this thing, and we're gonna just like.
No, I just want to go sleep. I was waiting patiently for my turn. You know what? DP debunks is the last one.
Yeah, I'm not a typical Brit. I don't wait patiently. I just barrel in. That's exactly it. It's the distinction between a hypothesis and a theory. The hypothesis is like an assumption based on observation, and then you go in and you experiment and you demonstrate that it's correct, and then you continue using it as a tool until somebody else comes along and demonstrates that you're actually in error. It's the most fundamental principle of how we progress with our knowledge. Like, making assumptions is fine as long as they are as long as they go hand in hand with a measured amount of confidence. Like, you can't just be absolutely certain that your assumption is 100% true. You always have to have like a little thought in the back of your head that, this always could be wrong, and that's how you move forward. It's called humility. Most people have it.
This guy keeps on yapping stuff that, like, always, like, chop off the top of a pressurized can. What happens? Why don't you answer this to me? You go at the bottom of Mount Everest, 1 atmosphere of pressure. You climb all the way up to the top of Mount Everest. It's 0.3 atmospheres of pressure. Where's the container between the 0.7 difference in atmospheric pressure between the bottom and the top of Mount Everest? I'll wait. And while we wait, this is what will happen.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
I think Oakley also he wants to show us his.
And this is what Oakley thinks of you, that guy M888.
The money-grabbing, thieving cunt. That's Quantum Eraser.
Well, I know what that guy thinks of me. He called me a pedophile on Twitter, so I've got him blocked for that because he accused me.
Oh man, I have so many people calling me a pedophile.
Yeah, but that was the wrong clip. This is the right one.
He's got great technique. I will say that.
I hate that it exists. I really do.
Oh my!
I'll have to say though, that's not my tempo.
Well, it is your industry, though, according to you. The one thing I was going to tack on, to what John said, it was very simple, very quick. But yes, in science, you make assumptions, right? Okay, go ahead, DePone.
Well, yeah, maybe Mike might have something.
I'm sorry.
Beautiful. I'll wait. I'm
CMS
sorry.
asked
I
me
didn't
for
realize
the-
that. I didn't realize it went out of order, so I apologize. I'll wait. I'll wait until the very end.
Do you think?
It's okay.
So I'm gonna jump in then. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Know your place. No, I'm just kidding.
I reserve the right to bitch about it quietly.
So in science, yeah, we make assumptions, right? We take competing models. We have model A, we have model B, and they're both among the stars here. We test which one gets us closer to reality. We look at the data, we do a proper analysis on the results. Whichever one is closer, we go with that until we're shown that it's incorrect. Simple.
Yep. All right, DP, final thought, and then I don't know if Isa's still here, but if Isa is there, get ready.
After they're done, I wanted to add something too. Just let me know when.
You got it.
Oh my God, it's never going to end, people. No.
Come on,
So first of all, Mr. E-Man said I shouldn't mention Pine Gap or Woomera Air Force bases here in Australia because they're super secret. So I'm not going to do that. I also wanted to confirm that Mike over here is shit at answering phone calls. So that's like free. I didn't want to miss an
What's a phone?
ever to hang shit
What's this
on
phone
Mike.
thing you speak of?
Now, speaking of hypotheses and so on and so forth, I had one for this debate and I put it up on my own Discord, which I've actually posted in for the first time in 7 months. My prediction was that Alan was going to come on and basically say, hey, we got the Celestial Theodolite. I know like Jesse and Rufus have called it out as being disingenuous and full of shit, but we've reworked the mass. We've changed
What does that
the
sound?
colors on the chart.
Oh God, what is that? I'm scared.
Chewbacca.
Is
What
that
a
you?
Wookiee.
Is Cubby in your house?
Always. Yeah, change all the colors on the chart and obfuscate everything enough that it'll look fresh so no one will know that it's bullshit. And along with that hypothesis was that Astronomy Live would rock up and basically do Joe Pesci and My Cousin Vinny, just walk in and say, everything this guy just said is bullshit. And I'm happy to report that my hypothesis is confirmed. So that was good enough for me. One complaint, and I want to call everybody out for this, because Reds is guilty of it. Max, you're now guilty of it too. So I'm taking you both to task. You've been showing porn on your channels for hours and hours and hours. And for God's sake, Astronomy Live, you have to put that telescope away. It's disgusting.
Oh Jesus! It is so seductive.
I thought you were talking about the fact that Max is wearing his pajamas on stream. Here.
Oh,
like
there's
somebody's stolen the arms of his shirt.
I'm here.
Just look at that angle of that telescope, though.
No,
I
DP's
mean, that is
got
like
jealous because Astronomy's glass is bigger than his.
It's just
That
asking.
telescope makes dudes wet.
It's just asking
It's not
to be
fair.
I mean, this is only my 11, but it's currently pointing 40 degrees up.
Only my 11. And to make it worse, he's a size.
Or no, sorry, it's only my 8. I've gotten
40 degrees is the perfect degree, sir.
It is such.
Yeah, but
11 is what it says on my
Debunks
Tinder
is only 8
profile
inches
too.
tall, so
The chat's gonna go wild if you change the degree by even 1 degree. All right.
All right, and Steel City, I don't think Isa is with us. Probably fell asleep waiting. But Steel City, final,
Okay.
whatever,
Yeah,
whatever remark, and we'll be on our way.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it was nice to have the issue of having too many people wanting to be on the panel, that we had people patiently waiting backstage and everything. It was great that you took the time to rotate people in and out, and I just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone who
Yes.
waited for their patience and everything else.
And
All
thank
right.
you, Max, for having us. It was great.
Oh,
Yeah, thank
I
you.
love you all. It's always a blast to have you. Okay, I'm going to do the thing, but I need to prepare. It's Unfornicated, the Drunk Debunk Show, DPD Bunks, IC Speed, and Astronomy Live. I don't know if I have enough breath to do it all at once, but we'll try. Before we go, make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send this to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and yell, subscribe to Unfornicated, the Drunk Debunk Show, DPD, Monk Stacy Speed, and Astronomy Live, and Shadow about the dogs. Yes, we did it. And that way we can share the lab for the channel. This was fun, freaking tastic. Love you all.
Now you need the
Take
wits
care. We'll catch you. I don't even know. Love you. Bye-bye.
Good night, guys.